Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our regular council meeting on Wednesday, June 11th, 2025. It is 6:02 p.m. and we're live. So I'd like to acknowledge the town of Midland recognizes located on land, which is traditional treaty territory of the Anishinaabe people, now known as the Chippewa Tri-Council, comprised of the Beausoleil First Nation, Rama First Nation, and Jordina Island First Nation. The territory is within Pre-Confederation Treaty 5 and Treaty 16 and included within Williams Treaties of 1923. Town of Midland recognizes is located on land which is traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat and historic homeland of the Métis, and our town is home to a large and diverse community of Indigenous people. And of course, it's also June being National Indigenous History Month, and June 21st being the National Indigenous Peoples Day. Part of the land acknowledgement is our commitment to truth and reconciliation, one of many ways we try and honor that. I'd now like to deliver the following safety message. Should the fire alarm activate, please exit the room in an orderly fashion and proceed to the evacuation assembly area, which is located in our upper parking lot on 3rd Street. You may exit through the main glass entrance doors there. Make an immediate left, proceed out the front doors, or through the secondary exit right back here, behind Councillor Ball. Up the stairs, check the door for heat for opening, and if it's safe, exit on the 2nd floor, turn right, and proceed out the front door in front of you. Just follow us if that's the way we'd go. Washrooms are located on the 2nd floor. An elevator is located just outside the main entrance. As Midland has a respectful workplace policy, anyone exhibiting violent or harassing behavior will be asked to leave. Members of the audience are maintain order and quiet, not to address council except with permission of the chair. All cell phones and pagers, always my good reminder, are to be turned off or set to non-audible. No person shall display signs or placards, applaud participants in debate or engage in conversations, electronic or otherwise, or behave in a way which may disrupt the proceeding of council. For anyone requiring a hearing assist device, please advise our clerk, and she will arrange with the IT staff to provide you with said device. Council meetings are recorded via Zoom and posted to the town's YouTube site. The meetings are also broadcast on Rogers TV Midland Channel 53, one meeting per month, and live streamed via Rogers TV Midland, which can be accessed through the Town of Midland website. Individual recording, broadcasting, or streaming the meetings by the public or any member is not permitted without express consent of the clerk and all those present. Tonight we have some presentations, so photography, of course, will be excluded, and you are more than welcome to participate in those joyous events. That being said, I'd like you to join with me in a moment of silent reflection before we get underway with tonight's agenda. Thank you. Although not on the agenda, our Madam CEO has an announcement to make, so I'll pass the floor over to Madam CEO.
Thank you, Worship. Through your worship to council and the public. Actually, today we are both proud and saddened to announce the departure of our Deputy Clerk, Sarah Cathcart, who will be moving on to new opportunities. So Sarah has played a pivotal role in the successful administration of the 2022 municipal election, demonstrating exceptional dedication, organizational skills, and a deep commitment to public service. Her attention to detail was both instrumental in ensuring a smooth and transparent electoral process that upheld the highest standards of integrity. So since joining our team, Sarah has grown tremendously in her role, taken on increasing responsibilities, and consistently going above and beyond to support both staff and the community. Her professionalism, collaborative spirit, and unwavering work ethic has left a lasting impact on our office. While we'll greatly miss her presence and contributions, we are excited to see her move on to new accomplishments in the next chapter of her career. So please join me in thanking Sarah for her outstanding service and wishing her all the best in her future endeavors.
I can't see her, but knowing how humble she is, she's probably beat red. Silently operating all the controls, making all the magic work. Definitely a big part of the dynamic duo that is our clerk team here in Midland. I don't know, would you have to change the email address? It won't be clerks@midland.ca anymore, at least for a bit. Anyway, we will miss you. And of course, in municipalities like ours, we are often stepping stones. Some people will stay with us for their entire careers. Others will find challenges elsewhere and progress. And we never get in the way of that. We always help people. So we absolutely wish you all the luck in the world, Sarah. Thank you for the time that you've dedicated to us. And although we're sad to see you go, we're super excited that you found a new challenge to take up. And of course, we're going to be looking for a replacement deputy clerk. So if anybody out there in TV land has the requisite skills, you may want to be watching the Indeed feed. But thank you again, Sarah, for all the dedication you've given the town of Midland. Okay, so kicking things off here, we've got declarations of conflict of interest. Council, are there any declarations of conflict of interest in relation to tonight's agenda, which is jam-packed? All right, seeing none. If one arises, you know what to do. Throw your hand up and at the time, and we'll do the requisite declaration. We are shy one person tonight. Councillor Reese is absent, vacationing with his family, so we wish him well. But he is not here tonight, and we know that. In case anyone's wondering, they're counting the boxes on the screen. So I have a motion here moved by Deputy Mayor Prost, seconded by Councillor Major, that the contents of the regular council meeting agenda for June 11th, 2025 be approved. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Next, moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Meredith, that the items and related recommendations contained within the June 11, 2025 consent agenda and consent items having been considered by council be adopted with the exception of the following three reports that are pulled. Item 5.4.5 CSR 2025-62, request for draft plan extension, Midland Bay Estate subdivision MDT 001 251 311 353 Fuller Avenue. Sound like I'm talking in code. Item 5.4.7 CSR 2025-064, memorandum of understanding with the downtown Midland Business Improvement Area, and item 5.4.10 CSR 2025-068, fees and charges bylaw update, which will be considered under section 12 of our agenda, reports and other items withdrawn from consent agenda for council's consideration, including presentations by consultants regarding a report under consideration. So again, council, this is the opportunity for the things that are about to be passed en masse in our consent agenda. If there's anything you wanted to call out, make comment on, this would be the opportunity before we call the question. Councillor Bull.
I just wanted to comment on the speed reduction in school zones and thank staff for finding existing funds for that, because I do sit on the MOVE committee when I'm able to, and I did see that other townships that have passed this particular speed reduction had to find additional funds from places. So I was scared to see that coming forward until I read the report and saw that you guys had already found it. So thank you so much for that.
Hey, well, that's easy. There's a big agenda with lots of reports. Staff do such a good job. Sometimes it almost feels sad to not call them out, but it also lets us not stay here till midnight as we sometimes do. So I will just speak to a report that didn't get pulled, but only because it's congratulatory. Our Community Grants Committee, which council for the first time this year uses the finances and the money that we generated at the mayor's first annual golf tournament, and there'll be another one this year. And so that means the money that we were able to dish out from the community grants program was no longer tax supported. I mean, it wasn't coming from your taxes. It was come from the raising of funds that are at the duffing tournament, I call it, where I did a lot of damage to the course at Brookley. We're doing that again in the fall. So I'd like to congratulate the successful applicants. There's always more applications than there is capacity. So we're really proud this year to have awarded funds to the Angels with Backpacks, the CLH Foundation, that's Community Living Huronia, the Gateway Center for Learning, Georgian Bay Musical Services, Georgian Shores Concert Band, the Girl Guides First Midland Sparks Unit, the Huronia Transition Homes Operation Grow Program, Midland Lawn Bowling Club, Midland Pride, Midland Small Set Co-op, Nursery and School, the Navatri and Diwali festivals in town for our South Asian community, Quest Art School and Gallery, and Sistema Huronia and We Are the Villagers, for a grand total of $40,000 raised through the golf tournament. So my heart goes out to all the sponsors and people that help raise that money, and really happy that we can dish these funds out. So thank you. A couple other changes were made too, just I'll call out since it's on the same report. We're also doing an in-kind contribution to be made to our Askinonia Senior Center, waiving facility rental fees. That's around $1,500. And the community grant program is now being modified to sort of squeeze down the maximum ask to 7,500 from 10,000, just so we can dish out more. And then the community grant program also is going to be modified, so there'll be a limit of 3 consecutive years per applicant, which hopefully opens the floor up to some new seed funding for new initiatives, which is really what the grant program is about. And also that we're changing the scoring criteria matrix to at another level. It's just it helps with making those tough decisions. So Anyway, that's a little bit of change to the community grants program. And again, congratulations to all the nonprofits that were successful. And to the ones that weren't, please apply again next year. We look forward to it. And we're going to do our best to raise as much as possible at this fall's golf tournament. So we'll have even a bigger pot to dish out. So, Councillor McDonald, I'm glad I've inspired some more comments.
Thank you, Mayor Gordon. I just wanted to comment on a couple of information items in our council information package. The one being that the library is hosting a movie night this summer at Little Lake Park. And there's a variety of movies being presented. It's free, and I hope the community takes advantage of attending them. And I thank the library for doing this. Be able to sit on our new watch it under our new stage. But the other thing that I want to mention is by hosting these movie nights, it's an example of poverty reduction strategies that we're attempting to develop. And the other comment in the the council information package was the e-bike charging station in Midland that we're going to do a pilot project here. So I think that's exciting for us bikers. And that's all I can think of at the moment. Thank you.
Certainly, Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Mayor Gordon. I don't think I could let the 2020 six budget outlook go by me without a comment. Just for clarification, maybe CFO can explain that, because I had some conversations with a counselor. You have two rates in there, outlook. There's a 4%, and then then shortly afterward it's 5%. Then there's a 4% figure in there as well. So when I look on page the estimated tax impact on page 6 of 12, it shows 5%. And then, so clarification on our budget outlook, are we looking at a 4% or a 5% right now as it stands?
Through Mayor Gordon to Councillor Meredith, the 5% was on page 6 is referencing sort of just those non-discretionary costs. The overall is looking at in that 4% range when we factor in growth, noting that the growth at this time is really unknown. Those reports typically aren't available until later this fall. So we'll firm up those numbers before we bring the budget to you. But yeah, that's why you're seeing sort of two different numbers, because the 5% is just the added costs or savings that we project. And then the overall includes not only our agency boards and commissions, but then also that growth forecast of 1.5%. Thank you.
Thank you. And then follow-up question on that, is that with the 4%, is that a blended or is that just prior to a blended rate?
Again, it's very early to project that blended rate. I don't know where the county's at yet. So it's basically at this point, it's assumed to be equal. So that would be our rate / the blended rate. Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor Gordon, for this second opportunity. Councillor Meredith brought to mind when I flipped to that page. One of the reports says the Patterson Park boat launch is being redone. And I'm wondering, at one time we talked about putting a dock at Little Lake for them to launch their canoes and kayaks down by the beach volleyball court. Could any of the material from that Patterson boat launch be used there? Finding more efficiencies and doing more with less, sort of thing?
She's talking about the one that was pulled. We never actually did it, like Sheldon brought it forward last time, yeah.
We can address it when it's,
Through your worship, to Councillor McDonald. Yes, I believe Councillor Ball is correct. You're talking about the docks at Little Lake? That was a proposal during the budget process?
yes.
I'd have to look it up. My sort of my spidey sense tells me that that was pulled during deliberations, but I could certainly check. And so I think, are you referring to CSR 2025-71?
Yes,
The April financial report, where we're asking for additional funds for dockage at Pete Peterson?
correct.
Yes, okay, thank you. Just so I'm clear. Yeah, so I can check, but to my knowledge, that project was not a go. So there would not be funding already approved for that.
I guess I'm trying to reuse the dock. If it's feasible, if they see it.
Okay, so I can shed some light. So that request was abandoned. We never did deliberate on it. Councillor East withdrew those, so we never discussed them. But I think what's being suggested is if there's a dock that still floats that comes out of the boat launch that isn't that's not garbage anymore. Although my understanding is we're changing them because they don't float. That's the whole issue. They're on pylons. But if there was a floatable dock that ends up in our possession at some point, could it be repurposed and slid into Little Lake? I think staff have heard that now, and perhaps they'll keep that in mind in case such floating apparatus should appear, perhaps after a storm.
Can't ask for much more. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, so that saved probably about an hour and a half of going through each of the reports when we have these quick draw questions from the stuff that we're about to pass on consent. Is there any other comments or pullouts before I call the question? All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. All right, next move by Councillor Ball, seconded by Councillor Bald. The council resolve into the committee of the whole. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. And turning things over to Deputy Mayor.
Okay, if you're following along, number 11, committee and local board delegation or memo, we have none. Number 12, reports and other items withdrawn from the consent agenda for council's consideration, includes presentations by consultants regarding.
Sorry, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. The first item would be the award of merit.
I jumped ahead, I'm sorry. Okay, so let's back up. We're at number 7. Public meeting hearing, there are none. 8, presentations. We have the 2024 Award of Merit presentations, and I will hand the floor back to Mayor Gordon to present these awards.
Thanks, boomerang handoff. I'm going to come down there because the papers are down there. All right, so it gives me great pleasure. Hopefully you guys can see me. A little speck there, perfect. Our award of merit is something that every year council labors over, thinking about worthy participants in our community, of which there are many. So we have these tough deliberations each year, and we settled on 2. So I'm going to start off with well, sorry, 3. Yeah, 3. That's right. We were going to start with 2, and then we'd have with 3 because we couldn't stop. We would have had 4. So I'd like to acknowledge our first award of merit recipient. 2 of these are posthumous. So this is for Jim Downer. So I'm proud to be able to honor former councillor Jim Downer of the Town of Midland Award of Merit. I now speak on behalf of councils and staff to present that Jim was elected and served on Midland Council in the following capacities. He was mayor of the community 2007 to 2010, deputy mayor from 2001 to 2003. They were 3-year terms back then, and 2004 to 2006. He was a counselor from 1995 to 97, 98 to 2000, 2018 to 2022. That was my first term, and was elected once again in the 2022 election until his untimely death on June 27, 2024. Jim served selflessly the town of Midland, hometown boy, community pride, and he served with integrity for just under 30 years as a dedicated community leader. His service to the town of Midland is arguably legendary. Jim was a member of Bayport Lodge 249, AD and AM. He was also initiated into the Caledonian Lodge, number 249 on April 7th, 1975. This is the Masonic Lodge. Jim was installed as Worshipful Master of Caledonian Lodge on June 1st, 1992, and served with distinction. Jim was more than a public figure in Midland. He was a family man first and adored his family. He loved Georgian Bay, boating and fishing. God, I know he loved his fishing and hunting especially. We'd find him absent from council meetings when it was the right season, because we knew where he was. Jim always had something nice to say along with many jokes and plenty of wisdom to share. He had a heart of gold and helped countless people along his journey in many ways through his community service and all his different capacities. So it is with great honor and privilege Town of Midland acknowledge Councillor Jim Downer with the Award of Merit, and here to accept it is his family. So come on forward, please. Now Don, I'm gonna let you in a little secret. We actually tried to give this to Jim last year, and he turned it down. He's like, I'm a sitting counselor. You can't do that. It'll be embarrassing. And so we had a good chuckle about it. And, so we were going to be revisiting it this year. We just didn't realize why. But it was, there's no debate involved in these things. Jim was just such a gentleman. And but I had an opportunity to speak at a celebration of life. But he'll be remembered forever on our walls in many of the photos if you go up the top of the stairs. But this was the least we could do to honor him with the Award of Merit. So. Sorry, that camera's over there. Eric. All right, our next Award of Merit, there's a pattern forming here, is our beloved Jack Cotton. Jack was a proud and devoted Midlander and member of Midland Town Council. He first served Midland as a councillor from 2015 to 2018, and once again stepped forward to serve our community when he was elected this past term as deputy mayor in October 2022. He continued in that role with his characteristic integrity and commitment until his untimely passing on November 9th, 2023. Jack was a Ojibwe and a member of the Beaver Clan. In Ojibwe culture, the Beaver Clan, the Beaver is known as the builder, strong, industrious, and tireless in creating spaces where life can thrive. And that's exactly what Jack did and how he lived. He spent his life building organization, building bridges of communication, and building relationships rooted in respect, understanding, and a shared purpose. In the early 90s, Jack started a local Native advisory circle at Parks Canada, a move that helped guide reconciliation efforts before it was even a thing, and promote Indigenous perspectives within federal institutions. He was a founding member of the Royal Newfoundland Regiment Reenactment Group, preserving and honoring a rich military history, and was able even to scavenge up a fat guy uniform for my pirate attire that I wore on a pirate cruise at some point, complete with, the sword and everything. What a neat guy. He built the, I'm going to probably mess this one up, Ganidjawonki Aboriginal Tourist Association to shine a light on Indigenous culture and create opportunities that respected tradition and community. Jack also was a tireless advocate for the environment. He loved Georgian Bay deeply and demonstrated that love just not in words, but through his action. He was a founding board member of both the Georgian Bay Biosphere Reserve and more recently the Georgian Bay Aspiring Geopark Project, which continues to this day. Through these organizations, he championed the wellness of our region and the stewardship of its natural beauty. Jack also worked closely with Beausoleil First Nation to help create the Memorandum of Understanding and the land acknowledgement that we use today, an acknowledgement that now stands as a symbol of mutual respect and truth between our communities. Jack brought that same spirit of collaboration and vision to his work on council. He enjoyed working side by side with council members and town staff on issues that mattered most. He believed in Midland and never stopped striving to make it better. Today, we recognize Jack not only for the positions he held, but for the heart and purpose he brought to everything that he did. We honor a builder, a leader, a storyteller, and protector of both land and history, and above all, a man who gave so much to others. May we carry forward his legacy and the work we do still in this term and in the values we uphold. Miigwech, Jack. Thank you very much. And it's with great pleasure I call up Judy to accept this Award of Merit on behalf of Jack. Our next Award of Merit recipient is none other than Frida Baldwin, not posthumous. Still with us and making waves and all kinds of change. Frida is a passionate advocate for our outdoors, active living and community engagement in the town and surrounding region. Known for her boundless energy and commitment to a healthy lifestyle, Frida has completed over 200 hikes per year for the past 3 years, inspiring others to embrace nature and wellness, and a proud member of Ganaraska Hiking Club. So as president of that club, she's played a vital role in trail development and maintenance in our region. And one of the most significant achievements was closing a major gap in the Ganaraska Hiking Trail by working with 3 towns to create that continuous and contiguous accessible route. Remember that ribbon cutting that day? That was awesome. She also led the Rails to Trails project, helping convert abandoned rail lines into safe, scenic, and trails all over, an initiative that stands as a lasting contribution to the community. Frida is also a valued member of our Active Transportation Committee, where she promotes inclusive infrastructure for walking and cycling. She also served as a senior committee on the Seniors Committee and the Ad Hoc Snowmobile Committee, demonstrating her commitment to serving residents of all ages and interests, even the motorized interests. In addition to her committee work, Frida supports important causes by participating in and raising funds for the coldest night of the year and the Terry Fox Run. Her love for the outdoors extends to camping, with Kilbear Provincial Park being her favorite destination. It is beautiful, especially the jumping rocks there. In addition to her dedication, Frida received the Age-Friendly Recognition Award from the County of Simcoe in 2024, and most recently, the Senior of the Year 65 Plus recognition from the Province of Ontario. Full on decorated here. Surprise if you didn't know about that one. Whether she's blazing trails, contributing to policy, or supporting a good cause, Frida Baldwin continues to lead by example, bringing energy, vision, and heart to everything she does. It gives me great pleasure to recognize Frida tonight on behalf of Midland Council and our community at large with the greatest honor we can bestow on residents of our community, the Award of Merit. And thank you for your past and continued service to the municipality. Come on up, Frida. Wait. Oh, one more. 2 more. And one more. There's one other picture here for you. So we put this in a frame for you, or a plaque. So this is the 2025 Senior of the Year Award, presented to Frida Baldwin from the municipality of Town of Midland in recognition of your outstanding people at home, in recognition of your outstanding contributions after age 65 that strengthen and protect our communities. And that is signed by the Honorable Raymond Cho, the Minister for Senior and Accessibility, and also Honorable Edith Dumont, our Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, and me, lowly me. There you go. Just a brief pause for hugs.
Okay. Okay, now we're at number 9. Integrity Commissioner Recommendation Report, we have none. Number 10, deputations and petitions. We do have a deputation and for Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. I will now call on Ms. Carrie Warner at Avil Consulting to provide a presentation and verbal report with respect to the North Simcoe Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. After a question and answer period, I'll ask for a mover and second. I'm not supposed to say that part. Welcome.
Thank you very much. That's a bit of a tough act to follow, so I will do my best. I will do my best. Am I advancing my own slides or am I? No. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. So my name is Carrie Warner from Avail Consulting, and I've had the great pleasure of working with your community for a couple of years now. And I'm here today to talk about the refresh of your community safety and wellbeing plan. So as you can tell, I'm kind of excited about it. I love this work, and I certainly love working with your community. Nice to see you, Councillor McDonald. Next slide, please. So for the next few minutes, we're going to take a look at, and it will be just a few minutes because I hear you have a very long agenda tonight, the importance and the rationale behind this type of planning and the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, how the plan was formed, the areas of risk that we looked at, the strategies that were then developed, how we plan on actioning, monitoring, and reporting on this plan, and then next steps for the council. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the legislation and framework. So why are we doing this? Well, one, we have a legislative requirement to do it. And so we know that that's been tagged to municipalities to develop and adopt and implement this plan. But we know that you can't do this on your shoulders alone, and you really rely on your community partners and providers to do this work. And then beyond the legislative responsibility, why are we doing this? Because there's a need to do this. When we look at what's contained in these plans, and you've probably had a chance to look at the plan, you can see that these are really complex social conditions that we're talking about, people in community with really interconnected needs. And so we know that that really kind of draws on many sectors to engage and collaborate and to work together to address this. And that is really the point of the plan. If you think of where all this planning kind of comes from, we recognize that police respond to a lot of calls, majority of their calls that are actually not criminal in nature. There's no chargeable offense. They end up being social disorder calls. And so how do we get above that? How do we get out from under that? And that's really what the framework, as you can see through the bullseye there on the right, is asking us to look at strategies and activities across those 4 domains. So crisis response, kind of that emergency intervention, and then just outside of that, intervention, and then beyond that, prevention. And then if we can really get, some good work happening in the green, which is social development, then you're going to shrink all those other domains. You'll always have them, and that's okay, but you really want to do a little bit more work in the blue and the green. So as far as the municipal role in this, we know that the municipalities were tagged with developing and adopting these plans, and the legislation asks that every 4 years you review and revise as needed your plans. So the first plan that you developed and adopted was in 2021. And I can tell you, because I do this work across the province, this is the niche kind of consulting that I do. I think I've seen every plan in the province, and they looked fantastic and they were wonderful, and they had lots of strategies and they were well intentioned and really ambitious. But without the resourcing, it was really hard right across the province to get some of the activities that we identified in the plan off the ground. So with the refresh, we took a very different approach, having, the lessons learned for the past 4 years. And so I have a lot of confidence, and I'm very excited about kind of the shape we're in at this point for the plan. Next slide, please. So how was this plan informed? So to approach this refresh, we kind of looked at it from 3 kind of stages. So we had a documentation and data review, then we had consultation engagement, and then we set strategies. So as you can see there, and it's detailed in the plan, some of the documentation that we would have looked at would be the municipal plans. We would have looked at collaborative tables if they have any mandates, if they have any strategies themselves, looking at Ontario health teams, poverty reduction task group, mental health and addiction, tables, and then looking at data. So we refreshed the data from the original plan, and then we started asking what other data really speaks to health and safety in the community. From there, we went on to targeted engagement of key providers, certainly providers that, work and support, equity deserving groups, local and also kind of county-wide providers, and then kind of the hyper-local providers, people that provide supports and services in your community. We had an online resident survey, we had an online provider survey, obviously asking different questions, but all kind of from their perspective around these areas of risk. Then we had an interactive North Simcoe provider strategy setting session, and that's where we really started talking about, okay, so there's lots of things we could do. What can we do, given that, we have to look at how we can leverage and amplify maybe some existing strategy, bring different partners into it to kind of scale it, but knowing that, we don't have resources. There is no pot of money that's net new that's falling from the sky to, initiate any net new work. So what do we do about that? And so, the providers were fantastic, and we kind of mapped it across the intersectionality of it to see what was existing and where we could kind of leverage that. And that's how we landed on strategy. And then we had an in-person county-wide provider strategy session, because as much as these are local plans, you can appreciate you kind of sit within the context of a bigger system, and you have providers that support your community, but they also support other communities across Simcoe County. And there's things like that the county does that is responsible for that is kind of county-wide. So that is how we approach the refresh to inform the strategies in the plan. Next slide, please. So looking at the areas of risk that were, again, you would have found 2 of these 3 in your first go round of the plan. And then access to services and supports really, really came out loud and clear, especially because not everybody lives right in Midland. Some are, served in North Simcoe, because this is a North Simcoe plan, in a little bit more rural areas. And the providers and the residents through the survey all talked about what a struggle it is to know what services are out there, how to tap into them, how to connect into them, and how to navigate between services. Because quite often when people are seeking support for one area in their life, there's multiple areas that kind of cross-pollinate with that one need. And so how do people navigate that? It's quite overwhelming. Next slide, please. So this looks like a busy slide, and we're going to spend a few moments on it. We're going to start with having you look at the right. So you can see on the right that in the plans, there are county-wide strategies, and then there are kind of local strategies. The county-wide strategies doesn't necessarily mean they're all being led by the county. It just means that they're going to appear in each of the 6 refresh plans that are being refreshed across the county of Simcoe. And while they're county-wide strategies, how they take shape in each community is going to be different, because there's different providers in each community, there's different community assets, and there's different community needs. So while it might be a common strategy, how it plays out in your community will be different, and that's what you want. So if we take a look at the proposed strategies in the plan, we can see there's one that addresses housing and homelessness, and that's really looking at prevention supports and reduction strategies. And then there's another one focused on addressing mental health, and that's really focusing on transitional aged youth. So that's youth aged 12 to 25, recognizing that sometimes this age group, when they hit 18, they move from child or youth services into adult services, and that's where sometimes the ball gets dropped a little bit. So there is a real interest in the providers that support the youth age 12 to 25 really coming together and really mapping, okay, where are the points, like the fault lines in this, and how can we kind of put some padding around that to make sure that there are no gaps. The next strategy is a hyper-local strategy, and that's a group of community partners, is quite a growing group actually, that have just started coming together to kind of have a unified approach to the issue of substance use. And so really they're looking at addressing stigma and enhancing support through informed community-driven solutions. And I can say that these are kind of, community service providers, public health is leading the strategy, but eventually when you start looking at who does this issue affect? It affects businesses, and so I can foresee that this will be evolving to almost be like a bit of a tri-sector approach, and I think that would be fantastic. The next is a countywide data strategy. So in the first plan, there was no data strategy identified. Most initial plans, the ones that were 21 to 2025, didn't have data strategies in it, but doing this work for now the past couple of years, it has become abundantly clear that you need to have a data approach in order to understand, the progress and the impact that you're making in these strategies. And so while it's not an area of risk, it is a priority. And so there is this, will be this overarching data approach that we will be taking. And the County of Simcoe is really best positioned to support this because of their business intelligence. And what it will give is, kind of that county-wide data, but it's also going to be able to allow us to drill down in what would be this plan, North Simcoe, to be able to share back some of that data. So we're looking at the original data that we use to help inform the strategies, but we're also looking at additional data sets that can really help us understand what is the health and well-being of North Simcoe residents. So I think the providers are very excited about this. They're excited to contribute and participate in it, and they're also excited to be able to receive that data to help inform their own planning. And that's where you want this to go. The next strategy is, again, a local strategy, and this is a strategy between your police and Community Connections. So if you're not familiar with Community Connections, they're an organization. They're located in Collingwood, and they are actually the provider that delivers on the 3-digit dialing code for 211. And they cover all the way from like out our way towards Goderich all the way to Peterborough. So it's kind of like, 911, 211. So they are the navigation service that supports that. And so what this strategy is really looking at is when police encounter someone that is not going to be taken in by the police or charged by the police, but the police recognize that this person needs support. Right now, police have lists and they have kind of the people who they know in town, the providers, and they'll make a referral. They'll give the person the number and, encourage them to call in the morning. But what this is doing is getting that person's consent and making that referral right from the cruiser to 211, so to Community Connections. And then they will be following up. And so they'll be able to unpack in a more calm, manageable way with the person, like what are the other pieces that they're struggling with? Because usually when someone is in crisis, it's not just one thing that they're struggling with. When you really unpack it and you do that intake, there's multiple things that they're struggling with. And then what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to kind of feed that information back to police, back to the local group that kind of works this plan to say, when we get a call for this, we have found that through our data, there are also on average 3 other needs, and they are this, this, and this. So you start triangulating the data to be able to use it for planning locally. Next slide, please. So with these strategies in place, now that we have clear strategies, it's the expectation that the lead agency for each strategy will coordinate these activities, track the progress, and report back to the designated committee. So in this case, it's a little complicated, and this is my third of 4 presentations to council today. And I know it's hard, when you're not as closely connected to this work to understand, like, how does this all come together? So you have a North Simcoe plan. There is a local governance group for your plan and is represented by each municipality and the detachment commander and the detachment board. And in addition to that, there is an advisory body, and that's a county-wide advisory body. And this is made up of about 20 different organizations that represent a number of different areas of risk. So you have like child welfare, you have the different police services, 211 is on that table, the county's on that table, both like housing and the community services side of it. There's about 20 different partners in there, the advisory body. They don't govern your plan. They just help support through that subject matter expertise to help inform like what's coming down the pipe from, provincially or federally around housing. And then you have the local table that is more the operational arm of the plan to make sure that things are kind of moving along. So for each strategy, there will be a strategy lead, and they will report back to your local governance group, which is the Geographical Municipal Coordinating Committee. I know that just like rolls right off the tongue, but the GMCC is what it's identified as in the plan. And I can say, having done this for 4 years, that it was a little spotty. And I think that you would probably say, well, I didn't really hear much about it in the first 4 years. I think you're going to find a world of difference going forward with this plan because we have people that we know who are accountable for it. And so we will be able to track, we'll be able to have them establish the metrics that they're going to be using to be able to report their progress. And with the data strategy, we're going to be able to say, are we making a difference or not? So the idea is that council can anticipate at a minimum an update annually on the progress of your plan and each strategy in your plan. So next slide, please. So proposed next steps to be compliant with legislation, pending any edits or amendments to the plan that the 2025-2029 Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan will be adopted on or before July 1st of this year. And I've been kind of scanning out there in the province to see who's popping up these new plans, and I haven't seen a lot. So I know that the ministry did struggle even the first go around with some municipalities not getting plans in on time, but you did get your plan in on time last time. And I have confidence that, if it was adopted, that you would have your plan in on time again. And then all you have to do is notify Solgen that you have refreshed your plan and post it digitally to your website within 30 days of its adoption. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Carrie. Before I open the floor for questions, I want to remind council that with respect to Carrie's time having to be in Penetang very shortly, we'll limit it to 10 minutes for questions, if that's okay. Do we have any questions? Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. Thank you for the presentation. And I'm hoping that this plan will have a success as you're confident in. Prior to 2020, or prior to this plan in place, you specify the importance of data collection. So prior to this plan, there was no data collection. That's basically my question.
So through the chair to the councillor, so there was data, we refreshed the data, but as far as the strategies, there was no identified lead for some of the strategies. And so when going to look for the data, if you go to like a mental health partner and you're looking at, did we move the needle on mental health? You have youth mental health, adult mental health, and you have like different partners, they all use different systems. And we realized this is going to be really tricky to be able to match apples to apples on this. And so that's why you see in this plan a clear priority around data. And so very quickly, I've already started the process to map this so that when we are looking at reporting back, we can say, this is the indicators that we're using. It was really tricky for the past couple of years to determine whose indicators we're using, because if you're using one agency's indicators, but you have multiple agencies involved in the plan, it just wasn't accurate enough. This is not unique to this community. This is something that, even in conferences, we've talked about how tricky the data is to pull at a community level. And so how do you kind of think through that in a go forward basis? And so that's why you see the data strategy in the plan now.
Okay, thank you. And one further question. You state that the reports will come back to council annually. Is there any way you can bump that up to semi-annually, or is it flexible?
Through the chair, yes, that's really at the call of the GMCC. And so I think we have to kind of look at what that first year looks like. And so the first report, if it comes at a 6-month, it might be a pretty quick report, like, the groups have formed, they've got their frameworks. As far as data, I don't know that you'd have data in that first 6 months, quite honestly, other than maybe some process data, like, this many partners have joined on the strategy. But yes, you can change that number, but that was in the plan I put at a minimum once a year.
Thank you. And I just have one more question I just thought of. So when we had a group in here, and I believe we still do, One Community Solutions, and they went along the same type of framework as collecting data and seeing where the problem spots and so forth are. So do you I guess collaborate with them or other agencies and get that type of data? Is that what you're?
Yes. So if you look at in the plan, it is the housing and homelessness strategy, and it's around strengthening pathways out of homelessness. And there's also a safety element. I'm familiar with One Community Solutions. So they have a contract with the county, I believe. That's who holds that contract. So we would, the data strategy team that comes together, say, who do we have in community? Oh, we've got One Community Solutions. What are they collecting data on? Do we have consistent data that they can feed into our data strategy? So that's kind of where we're at for the summer, is figuring out who has what data and is it reliable? Putting some criteria to it. Is it reliable? Is it repeatable? I mean, can we get it on a regular basis? Is it relevant? So first is to establish some criteria, then look at the data that we can collect and who might have it, and then weave it into basically what would be like a performance framework.
Thank you.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Post, and thank you for your presentation. I wonder if you could clarify for me a little bit more on the action plan. The one slide said the lead agencies for each strategy, each strategy coordinates the activities. I'm not clear who the lead agencies are for the is that determined already? And if they're coordinating activities, how are we made aware what the activities are? That whole page left me full of questions.
So through the chair to the counselor. So in the plan, you will see when you get to the strategy section, it will say on the right, it will have a little bit of a write-up on the left side of the page, and then on the right side of the page, it will say like lead agency, partners, goal, objectives, actions. And so that's kind of their marching orders. So that lead agency is the lead agency I'm referring to that's leading the strategy. So in this case, you would have 5 strategies, you'd have 5 lead agencies, and then there'd be partners for each of those strategies. And it's up to those lead agencies to use what's in the plan, and they have all seen what's in the plan because they help create what's in the plan, because there's no point putting it in the plan if they're not committed to doing it. So that is kind of what they're going to use as a jumping off point. Now, some of these strategies are already underway, and having them in the community safety and well-being plan will amplify them and give them some spread and scale. So the actions or activities are what is under the action section, and that might evolve, and that's what you'd be getting a report on.
Thank you. I'm looking at it as you're explaining it, and that makes a lot of sense. And this is what your report will involve, what their activities have been eventually.
Yes, so I will be supporting the strategy leads, and I'm going to be developing a framework to help them know what is expected of them when it comes time to report back, so that we don't get a bit of a mishmash of what they think they want to share. There's going to be some clear expectations on what they're to report on.
And I haven't shut off my mic, so I have one more comment, please. Just on the momentum and lessons learned from 21 to 25, I see the Hope Housing and Health Symposium was mentioned as happening here. I just would like to share with you that out of that, the second one, we are meeting, the service providers are meeting, and there is a lot of information being shared.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been met 3 times, I think, and especially today was very productive. So I'll watch for your reports, and thank you for getting this, to us.
Mayor Gordon.
Thanks. Great getting this to us. I mean, it's required. A lot of work's gone into it, a lot of studying. And for those who have a look at it, you'll see how big a role the county of Simcoe plays in this as our upper tier. And I think that's the frustrating part of being a lower tier municipality, that we lack the funding, the mandate, the jurisdiction to have any demonstrable impact on some of the issues that plague us as a lower tier municipality, that we're really left to mop up and deal with, because we're the frontline government that interfaces with the people that are experiencing the problems, whether they're experiencing homelessness or they're experiencing a problem because of homelessness. So this report, although doesn't lay out specific direct strategies, it's meant to help inform the strategic plan that the new detachment board is going to be developing and has to report on, and that goes into through the OPP strategic plan, trickles down into the central region strategic plan, and then right down to a detachment specific strategic plan for North Simcoe. And of course, those are the signatories of this community safety and well-being plan. So it's really a joint effort. And for anyone that is looking for those documents I just mentioned, they're notoriously hard to find, but our new administrator on the detachment board was able to get copies emailed to him from the OPP of each of those, and they've now been uploaded and are on the link section of the detachmentboard.com website, which is our Southern Georgia Bay Detachment Board. So there's a lot of flow through information. No direct actions or deliverables that this council or municipality or our senior team at the table here can take, other than to help inform, know that all these community partners are engaged, have contributed to this, and everyone's committed to doing their piece to try and make the community safer and life better. So I think the frustrating takeaway is that there isn't any like action items that we can sit around and make a motion and direct staff and let's do this, and it's now going to change the homeless situation or the addiction situation. Or one thing that is absent, of course, is intimate partner violence, IPV. Which is a big thing in our community, and we're going to get a delegation about that, asking us to join other councils in declaring it a pandemic in our country, in our community. So although it isn't mentioned specifically, there's a whole bunch of moving parts in here. And I was wondering if you could just my question is, because I was asked, hey, can the next edition of this plan specifically call out intimate partner violence? It's not there, but I want it, and I heard a good reason why it isn't, or how it's indirectly referenced, but I'm hoping maybe you can share with us and the people watching why IPV isn't like an actual call out bullet in the plan.
Sure. So in the plan, I think it's on the page that's talking about beyond the plan. It talks about, well, there was many strategies discussed beyond even IPV that didn't make it into the plan. Why they didn't make it into the plan, it could have been, we couldn't, identify a clear strategy that was already kind of in the works because there was no net new money to do this. Sometimes the data, especially around the intimate partner violence, we know that that data is housed with some of those agencies. Some of it's shareable, some of it's not. I've had conversations with the local partners that support people fleeing intimate partner violence, and you'll notice that on that page it says that while there might not be an identified strategy, we recognize that this is a priority for the community, and we will continue to work with those partners. And I think the other thing is that when you look at this as a 4-year plan, you're like, what, 5 strategies? That's all we're working on for 4 years? These are big strategies, or these are complex strategies. And there's really important work that's not in the plan that are great strategies in your community. And it doesn't mean that they won't tuck under community safety and well-being. It just means that at the time the plan was produced, for whatever reason, they didn't make it into the plan. So sometimes they needed more development, sometimes they needed broader support from partners. Again, this has to be intersectoral, so there's no strategy in here that's not intersectoral. And so sometimes some of the strategies that came forward, even in other areas, they were one organization or a couple of organizations from a sector, but we didn't see how this would play out cross-sector, how we'd be able to measure that. And so I think that that's an important thing that this community and every community needs to take away, because this is something we're seeing across many communities, if not all communities, that they need to be able to bring in those partners, and they are sitting at the local table now. They are sitting at the steering committee, the advisory committee that I mentioned. And so within the 4 years, you may see strategies come out that when you get the update, you'll get the update on this, but you might get some secondary update on, and we're also doing this.
Thank you. With respect to your time, I'm going to ask for a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor. Moved by Mayor Gordon, and seconded by Councillor Major.
Thank you.
That council accept and adopt the 2025-2029 Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan as presented, and that the 2025 to 2029 Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan be posted on the town's website within 30 days of adoption. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. On to number 11, committee and local board delegation or memo. There are none. 12, reports and other items withdrawn from the consent agenda for council's consideration includes presentations by consultants regarding a report under consideration. 12.1 CSR 2025 066 Elizabeth Street and Midland Avenue intersection review. Could I have a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor? Counselor Ball and Counselor Major. Who would like to speak to this one first? Mayor Gordon.
Thanks. I'll kick things off with an amendment. I mean, there are several options on this report. Option 4 is not the one recommended by staff because they can't recommend it. Because again, much like any time we talk about stop signs, the warrants typically don't justify putting them in. And the evidence is being collected, it's being presented, and our staff, being competent, regulated professionals, can't make a recommendation that isn't backed up by evidence or science. And quite frankly, we shouldn't be making decisions that aren't backed up by evidence or science. But stop signs are one of those exceptions that I can sleep at night putting a few more of those in town, even if the stats don't support it. So option 4 on here includes all of the wonderful mitigation strategies that staff can support, which includes removing, it says the option including the same signage and stop bars, which are detailed in option 3, which is removing some parking spaces and putting some painted hash marks, just paint. Stall delineation line removal as option 1. The total cost of the option is $4,500. There's no financial impact for this option as the cost can be split between the operating budget as well as engineering traffic calming operating budget of 2025, which will likely get replenished well next year with automatic speed enforcement. Even though that's not the objective, the reality is that traffic calming line item will likely see some revenues. So the amendment that I'm proposing is that we, effectively adopt option 4, which sees the combination of the traditional remove the parking spaces, make the sight lines better, paint where the parking spaces were to, it's just paint, but still people generally don't park or drive on, yellow hatched pavement, and put in stops. So we effectively have the 4-way stop, which was kind of what our objective was. We sent staff to go and do the math. They couldn't do the math to make it fit that stop signs are warranted. But nonetheless, we do have the option to put them in and accept the fact that we are slowing traffic down in our community on a collector road, which I think is actually our objective in this case. So option 4 is the one that I would like to see us vote on. Some of us have talked about this ahead of time. We made sure we didn't have quorum and we did so. But it seems that consensus of council is we want to have stop signs. Option 4 is the one that gives us that, as well as the other good ideas that staff brought to improve the sight lines as you're approaching that intersection that are currently impaired by parked vehicles. So throwing that on the floor.
Counselor Major.
So as Midland's transportation consultant specialist, so I went down there, I spoke to a lot of people, and with the library where it is, the culture center and everything else, I think for the cost of it, personally as the traffic consultant specialist, I think we'll go with option 4. Thanks.
Well, not seeing any other hands at the moment. My Counselor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. I was wondering if, because you're taking away parking spaces from possibly fronting on some businesses. I'm not sure if Councilor Major did talk to any of the businesses. You said you talked to some people. Did you talk to any of the businesses that possibly might, this may come to a surprise to say, hey, this is on the table, what your thoughts, or did staff do any of that kind of legwork, I guess? And I failed to go into the business because I wasn't looking at option 4, but so I'm just wondering if anybody talked to any of the businesses. I think it's Nichols Funeral Home there, and I think it might be the Strand or a haircutting place in one, and then there's a coffee shop on the other one that may affect some be affected by some parking space. Not that we have a lack of parking, but I just wonder if anybody had any communication with those businesses.
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Meredith, at this point, no, we haven't had any consultation with the businesses. We looked at it strictly from a sightline visibility standpoint, and pending council's direction, then we'd have those conversations with the businesses.
Before I go to Councilor McDonald, can I just add to that? I'm very familiar with that intersection. It would only possibly be one parking spot because that last one, when you're going toward the water on Midland Avenue, it's very close to the road. It probably shouldn't be there anyway. It's very close to the corner, not the road. It's on the road, right? Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there. Councilor McDonald and then Councilor Patel.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I found the town report on the statistics of the accidents and the very interesting. And to me, we're trying to fix something that isn't broken, according to the statistics. So I'm going to stick with the recommendation of option 1. And we'll see what happens.
Councilor Patel.
So, Mayor, through you, so I'll agree with Mr. Major, Councilor Major, and Mayor, Deputy Mayor, that we're in the traffic calming business, which is our main objective. And having a 4-way stop sign, when we initially, Councilor Major brought it in, I did support it at that time, that we don't need. My experience from driving on Midland Avenue, not going to the beer store, is those parking spots are not often used. So option 4 is I think a wonderful option. And we'll probably be walking faster than driving with all these traffic calming initiatives. Thank you.
I just want to say that knowing that road, both those roads for well over 20 years, I don't know where the stats are being kept, but I have witnessed numerous accidents, watched people play chicken trying to cross the road. It's really not a good place. There's many, many accidents. People have been hit by cars and cars hitting each other. And I know that can happen anywhere, but I don't know where the stats are coming from, but I would fight them because I've seen it firsthand over many, many years. And the traffic, the speed, if there's a stop sign there, the speed's going to slow down because they come flying from Hugel or before if they have a green light, and they're just flying and you can't even get across the street day or night. And when it's dark, it's even worse. Anyway, I wanted this before, and I mean, because I've seen so many accidents and people being hurt. I think it's just safe. People walk down that street, and I see that too, all the time. They're going to the grocery store, they're going to the library, they're going to our downtown core, and it makes it a lot easier if they, can cross the street safely and not in and out, and really putting their lives at risk. I definitely hope that council will agree that putting in the extra stop signs for safety and slowing traffic down is going to do good for the town. And it's no harm to go against the recommendation and do what we feel is right to protect our residents. Councillor Ball.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of 3 with just putting the stop signs in, but seems like a happy medium to support staff's recommendation as well as put a stop sign in there for the many residents that definitely have reached out wanting it. So I don't want to just remove parking spots and ignore their wishes, because I think their wishes have been pretty strong for a stop sign. So I'm in support of option 4.
Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. So if we go with option 4 and implement a 4-way stop, so is there I imagine is there a time notice period of new stop signs, or sometimes I see that flashy kind of green, kind of halo, kind of like new or coming or soon, or so what's the process in that? Thank you.
Yeah, through Deputy Mayor, Councilor Emeritus. Yeah, there's regulations on new signage ahead. You see those exactly like you say, that new sign with the fluorescent green around it. There's prescribed minimum amounts of times that signage has to be in place when you put a new regulatory sign like this up. So all of that signage will be accompanied with this. So you'll see that on both directions. If this was the direction council chooses to go, those signs would also be there. I think it's a minimum of 30 days. There really is no maximum, but we normally keep it anywhere from the 30 to 60 days is typically what we do.
Seeing no further hands up for questions, I will read the motion. Actually, it's new. We've amended it. Okay. Okay, I'm going to read the amended motion and let me know if the mover and seconder still would like to be on here. The staff report CSR 2025 066 Elizabeth Street and Midland Avenue intersection review dated June 11th, 2025 be received and implement an all-way stop as well as remove the parking spaces that identified in option 1. So I have Councillor Ball and Councillor Major. Do you still want your names on this motion? Yes. All in favor? That's carried. Yay. Can I do like a,
It's game over for Frogger.
sorry, I'm just making sure all my papers line up here. Okay, on to 12.2. CSR 2025 062 request for draft plan extension Midland Bay Estates subdivision MD T 001 251 311 and 353 Fuller Avenue. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Put this on the floor, please. Councillor Major and Councillor Patel. Open the floor for questions. Councillor McDonald, then Councillor Emeritus.
Thank you. My question is, how many times do we actually give an extension? And my second question is in regards to the Drummond Wall. Is that it being protected?
Through you, Madam Chair. So council can give as many extensions as they feel is appropriate. There's no limit. The one thing is that as we do these extensions and as staff comes forward with staff reports, if the applicant is working with staff and trying to get these conditions cleared, staff will typically recommend that we support the extension that the applicant is requesting. The applicant in this case was requesting a 3 years extension. Reading the correspondence, they indicated that the conditions could be cleared within 24 months. So we're supporting a 2-year extension. But council can decide to extend it or not. But they are working with staff to try and clear the conditions. In terms of the drum and wall, that is, it is protected. So when development does occur and there is, road reconstruction and realignment of Fuller that will need to be done as well, that staff will have to, address the wall and figure out how we're going to properly preserve the wall, whether it's portions of it or how it's going to be incorporated into the subdivision. So it is protected. It has been designated by the Heritage Committee. So we will have to figure out when we get to that part of the development, how we're going to protect it, whether it's portions of it or reincorporate it into the subdivision design.
A follow-up. So if they're working with us and nothing's completed in 2 years, then you come again and ask for another extension. Or forget the project. Just looking at the picture that's provided with the report, the piece of land between their boundary and the bay, does that belong to the town of Midland? Is that going to be part of the waterfront master plan? I think it might be McCullough Park there. Yes,
Yes.
that belongs to us.
That belongs to the municipality. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. I read the report and I did not see any potential consequences of any kind to the town of Midland if that will be triggered by the developer if this does not get approved. Is this correct?
Through Madam Chair, should council decide to not grant the extension, the application would then lapse. And the applicant, should they wish to proceed, would have to come forward with a brand new application. There has been changes in the Planning Act over last number of years, quite a few number of changes. And one of them is that if it does lapse, it used to be if it lapses, it's done. You can't resurrect it. Now you can resurrect it should council support that request. So 2 years from now, if the applicant were to come in and it's lapsed, they can request to council that it be brought back, and a new application would still be submitted, but it would be kind of kicking back off where it left off. So the applicant, as I said, is doing work. They are working with engineering staff to complete their conditions. So they haven't been just sitting on their hands, not doing anything. It is a slow process in some instances to get some of these studies completed. But if council should proceed to wish to not give this subdivision another extension, there is no appeal. So they can't appeal council because they didn't give a further extension of the plan of subdivision.
Okay, thank you. So my personal thoughts on this is not to give them the extension. I'm tired of these developers. You know, I look at development right beside it. It's 30 years now. I see with the way this is going, extension after extension, to possibly in that same realm. I'm just, they came here, you know, the last extension, this was it. It's a 2-year extension and you say it's, you know, slow. Is it, I would say that, you know, with the market conditions, they may be, you know, kind of putting it off a little bit, but you say that they are working, and although I guess the process is slow, I'm just seeing that regularly come to council for extensions after extension after extension. I looked at the plan and the report that you had that you submitted to council here. Wasn't pulled, but it had a lot of good information there. We have a ton of development going, you know, coming through. And with that development, I'm sure there's going to be the same asks for council. So I'm tired of the excuses coming in. I'm not going to support this at this time. I want to send a message that say, we have done, our planning department has done an amazing job of clearing, from OLT hearings and so forth. And we have some developments that need a rush put through that come to council that council, paves the wave and opens up, gets the application process through quicker. But we find ourselves back here and asking for extensions with developers. So I'm not going to support it. I'm tired of it. I want shovels in the ground. And whether it's market conditions or some other condition, developers just kind of find an excuse. So if there's no expense, financial cost to the town of Midland, I'm saying let them start all over. Thank you.
Mayor Gordon.
Thanks. I'm inclined to agree with Councillor Meredith on this one. I remember last term when they came to us looking for an extension, there's, the plan was they were going to be moving ahead quickly at that point. It just feels like we're getting slow walk through the process. Plus this plan that they have, I mean, that might have been good back in, 10 years ago, but is that the best, density considering this piece of land and given the targets that we don't have a target by the province, but the expectation that good land use planning now requires density. And we're pressing new developers to come to us with density and not build big estate lots. Those days, that was the way it was back in the day. We want density now, and because we need more homes. So this, Mr. Parkinson, maybe I could ask you, I mean, when you look at the site plan for this, if this was a brand new development coming to, before the town right now, because you and I had many of these conversations when developers slide in site plans that don't have proper density. Is this something that you would entertain and be happy with if it slid across your desk as a net new application?
Through you, Madam Chair. Current planning legislation speaks to intensification. Smaller lots, these types of larger lots aren't typically built anymore. These, I wouldn't say they're estate lots, but long gone are the days where you've got huge lots that are being built. The idea is to try and condense them, have more units on types of lots that come in. So if this type of subdivision did come in, staff would be providing those types of comments, requesting that intensification do occur on these types of applications. The applicant's planner is in the audience, so if council has questions about the layout or the extension, I'm sure he can provide clarification should council wish to hear from Jamie Robinson.
Thanks. So in effect, I mean, I would be just as happy to see this thing lapse and die because it's just not moving ahead quickly, and it's an old style plan that made sense back in the day and doesn't now, and simply challenge the property owner to sit down and make a plan that's matches the requirements and the expectations of today's housing market. Maybe they'd move through the process quicker. I don't think geotechnical doesn't matter. All these things that they've already done are not a waste. It just this design element, the size of the lots and the number of homes that are planned, just don't feel like they mesh with today. I feel like I'm looking back into the past, and we are looking into the past because this started a long time ago. So I'm inclined to let this lapse as well, not approve an extension, and challenge the landowner to come back with something that is more in line with what we'd expect from any new developer these days, coming before us wanting approvals for housing. I'm content if I'm content to invite Jamie to the mic if he's got any sort of words in defense. I mean, he kind of has to. He's working for his client, but he's also a respected planner, and his organization and perhaps himself is responsible for submitting plans that don't look anything like this to communities all through Simcoe County routinely, and they're easily defendable. This one might be a little harder for him to defend, but I'm more than happy to give you the podium and tell us why this is still a good plan. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, through to the mayor. If council wishes to allow Mr. Robinson to address council, you would have to do a show of hands to suspend the rules to allow him to speak, as it's not a public meeting and this isn't our normal procedure. So we would need 6 members to agree that he can approach council or he can speak to council.
Looks like we're good.
I only saw 5 hands.
Oh. 1, 2, 3, 5. Oh. Well, now I only saw 5.
If council could raise their hands, it makes it easier. Thank you. We have 6.
Thank you, Worship and members of council. Just a few points. I'll try to be brief, but yes, a lot of what you've said is correct in terms of if this application was proposed now, would it carry forward? Likely not. It wouldn't meet the density requirements in accordance with the plan and in accordance with what the provincial requirements are. But a couple of key points. Firstly, is that the site is zoned. It has zoning that specifically permits this type of use, and this type of development, which is different. So let's just imagine council decides to say, we're not going to extend your draft approval today. The applicant would come in with a draft approval application in the future or right away subsequent to this. It would comply to the zoning bylaw and we'd be right back where we are right now dealing with satisfying the same or similar conditions. If staff felt that new conditions needed to be added, those new conditions can be added through this extension process as new conditions have been added as we have continued on this extension process. So that's point number 1, is that it really doesn't change if council decides to deny this. It doesn't necessarily change that the built form changes. It just means that we're back here again. And is there an added cost to the municipality? I think there is, because there's additional staff review time that would be undertaken to review a new subdivision application. And it has to come back to you again for approval. So I think there is additional costs on that. Secondly, the reason for the timing, we did ask for a longer extension period last time, knowing the amount of work that was needed to be done, but we were granted the 2 years. One of the reasons for that, I'll tell you the reason what work's been done. The owner spent over 200 grand on engineering alone in the last 2 years, working through the engineering process. In December, they provided the engineering department with cross sections and road connection drawings to demonstrate that the connections to all 3 municipal roads that abut the site would work. Since that time, they've been working on the detailed engineering plans, which has been the bulk of the work. In addition to that, in terms of the specifics related to the engineering, there was a requirement for additional drilling and hydrogeological work to be completed, which had to be done in the springtime. It's a spring situation. So that work was done in April. The report was finalized on June 6th. So it's just been finalized. So quite frankly, we're moving as fast as we can, but there's engineering requirements and seasonal requirements that have been taken into consideration. So as what we've completed so far, 3 engineering submissions to the town of Midland. The 4th engineering submission scheduled to be submitted in July. So what would happen after that? It gets submitted in July. The town engineering department has an opportunity to review that. It usually takes in the magnitude of around 6 months to complete that review process. Then we would respond to that, and then likely there'd be another round of engineering review after that. So you can see how the 2-month or 2-year time period gets eaten up pretty quick. So that's effectively the process that's been undertaken. We've also been in touch with all of the utilities, with Hydro One. They've asked for a phasing plan, which has delayed this. we're intending to submit the engineering submission in June. They've asked for a phasing plan and cost estimates up front, which they usually don't do. So that's why we've had to bump the timeline back to July to deal with those Hydro One comments. So the message is just that there has been ongoing work. The engineers, it's not really a planning exercise so much right now as it is an engineering exercise. And there's been a lot of work from the design perspective and review perspective to undertake that. So my message is just that the client is expending a lot of money. They are working diligently with the engineering department or with their engineers and with the town of Midland Engineering Department. There is a review process to be undertaken. And that even if council were to deny the request for an extension, that the zoning on the property permits this form of draft plan and this form of development and this built form. So regardless of what the policies say and regardless of what's changed from a provincial level, that the fact that the zoning's in place really trumps those policy pieces. So you'd be sitting here in a few months, for example, dealing with a draft plan application. And again, one key distinction and change to the Planning Act is there's no public process for a plan of subdivision application anymore. So there wouldn't be another opportunity for a public meeting. The zoning's in place. That's the stage in the planning process for public input, that it would just come back to council for approval of the draft plan and draft plan conditions. And staff has already indicated through their recommendation to extend this draft approval of what they feel are appropriate conditions. That's the conditions that exist before you today. So it's my respectful request that you do provide the the 2-year extension. I've laid out a plan that we're working diligently with the developer and with staff to achieve that 2-year time period and have this development registered. And I guess the only closing part is in discussions with Mr. Stovall, we also are working with the town because the town's making those improvements to Fuller Avenue. And we're trying to make sure that the timing of this development aligns with the timing of that Fuller Avenue expense, which I know council has already provided permission from a budgetary perspective to undertake. So we're trying to make sure those two processes piggyback with one another. So I do sincerely appreciate the opportunity to address council tonight. So thank you. And if there's questions, I'd be happy to address them. And I do understand this is a unique situation. I understand the frustrations too, so I don't take that lightly.
Thank you. I had missed Councillor Ball, so I'm going to go to Councillor Ball, then to Mayor Gordon.
Thank you. I wanted to say this, I guess, before you came up, because I actually feel the opposite as what has been said. I am inclined to give you an extension. I always appreciate when staff come and say that you're working with them. Like, that's, I think, the main point is, are we actually getting somewhere? And it sounds like you are, and I appreciate that detailed I guess, explanation of how you're going through that process. And I do feel there is an appetite for homes like this. And I think that although the province is deeming high density homes is the only way to go right now, I think that's it's short-sighted. I think I don't want to live in a community where we're only approving high density builds. I think that we've seen people moving from high density builds to our community because they feel the same way. They don't want to only live in a high density community either. And that's where a lot of our residents are coming from now. They're moving from Toronto to our community because they do want something a little bit with more space, more land. I wouldn't say these are based off of the plan I'm seeing. They're not giant homes, like giant lots. Do they meet the, I guess, requirements that we've been looking for with the high density units that have been coming this year? No, but there is an appetite for it, I do believe still. And the housing crisis is in no means a housing crisis, it's an affordable housing crisis. And none of the developments we've seen, aside from the few, that have slotted some spots for affordable housing, the rest of them are not. So I thank you for presenting this, and I'm in support of extending it.
Mayor Gordon.
Thanks. With your comments about zoning are well placed. It's kind of just rinse and repeat. I suppose an option that we have is to rezone it so that it's no longer compatible with this style of build. And we really want to try and encourage more density. And to Councillor Ball's point, affordability, because there'll be nothing affordable about a home built on these lots. You know, which is great. I mean, for people that are affluent, and we do have people who move to our community and who are in our community who have the affluence, but we also have a staggering number of people who are just, you know, moving out of their parents' basement is not going to happen in the next few years unless we're really careful what we approve. So my issue is that, you know, I trust you. You're telling me that, and I don't trust staff. Staff are saying that there is active communication, so it's not like it being dormant. And they're moving ahead on this. I do want to see that extension road that right now is a dead end, because there's only one way in and out of the Bayport subdivision. And this plan, if I'm looking at it correctly, looks like it pairs up and has that secondary entrance exit to Bayport, which is desperately needed. You know, can we put any type of caveats on, okay, if we approve this, one of the write backs from staff is that, you know, that road be cleared and prepared even before they start clearing lots and doing else. Can we say, you got to put that road in? And if that road's not put in within, you know, 1 year or 2 years, then, you know, then you haven't met this condition. Because that's really important to the existing homes that are, and the new ones that are being actively built right now by Caitlin. Is that realistic, or is that tantamount to extortion? I'm not really sure.
Maybe if I can.
Yeah, who wants that one?
Your worship, if I can just say that I know that the design for that road has been completed, and that was the discussion, is that should be that needs to be the first phase of the development. And particularly the cost for that road's been determined. I know I think there's some cost sharing potentially associated with that road, but yeah, I know that's the first phase of that subdivision, is completing that road and ensuring that second access to Bayport is completed.
Just to add to that, yeah, that'll be one of our priorities, obviously, is to get that road in. So, you know, we typically have your underground servicing and your road first lift asphalt. That has to be completed before building permits can be pulled. So that, you know, it's in the first phase, like Mr. Robinson mentions, it'll be first priority. Putting a timeline on it is a little more challenging, right? To say, if you don't do this by this date, you shall lose other things. We've done a been to OLT with the neighboring developer about this road extension, and we were unsuccessful. So I don't believe we would have much leverage to put something in the agreement like that. However, we can still make it a priority that's the first area that's worked on for sure.
Councillor Meredith?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Post. And thank you for the explanation of the delays and explaining that to us. I don't have a problem with the lots and the density in this development. I think there's a ton of high density coming into Midland. So a mix is not bad. The 2-year extension, I mean, I would agree to that. But I think the wording needs to be clear that this is it, 2 years, and we will not be here. It'll be possibly a new council. So I want to make sure that this development in 2 years, however we have to word it, that if it goes into lapse and there's no you know, then the application has to be renewed. I just want to make sure that the 2-year time frame is sufficient enough to get this going, and that we don't see you know, this report come back to council, but we see shovels on the ground. So I'm willing to do that if we amend the motion to say something in the lines of, you know, yeah, no extensions, no you know, other than the 2 years, that's it, final. So I don't know how you want to word that, but or can you do that, or?
Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. To Councillor Meredith, if council agrees to the recommendation, it's a 2-year extension. And then if nothing has happened after 2 years, it will have to come back before council. And it's at that time that you can make another decision.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor McDonald, then Counselor Patel.
Thank you. Actually, that was going to be my question that Councillor Meredith just posed. It's a beautiful piece of property. I like I agree with Councillor, she's unagreeable tonight, it's scary, with Councillor Ball, that there is a market for larger places. And I just want to point out that the real estate market also opens up when you have someone living in a small home and that they're making progress, they've got some equity in their home, they want to better what they're living in, they're going to move there, and then it leaves an affordable house. So I'm in support of the extension. I would like to be able to say this is the final extension, but we're not here in, we may not be here in 2 years, but yes, I'd really like to see something positive happening, like your sign showing the lots, and this is what's coming, the name and everything. So I'm in support of the extension for 2 years.
Counselor Patel.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. Thank you for the, I guess, a quick presentation. I'm not really in support of the extension, but given the circumstances, you're saying that you guys are sticking with your plan. Is that correct? You're not gonna change to high density? The reason I agree with the mayor, what he's saying is when you do high density, you're better utilizing town services like the water, fire safety, all that, and it brings in more people to the town. There's lots of land in the neighboring communities that can provide these type of housing that you're recommending. That was my reasoning for not supporting, but you guys are not going to change the site plan, and so, and I guess we can't set a strict guideline to sticking to a 2-year plan either. So our hands are pretty much tied. I was dreaming like 5 50-story buildings, like when I saw this. So, but it's not happening. So we'll support this for now. Thank you.
Counselor McDonald.
I would just like to point out that with this plan, they're bigger lots, bigger houses, bigger taxes. So we don't need high density in every place that we're going to build.
Mayor Gordon.
Sorry, a lot of things have changed too since this came in. Are your clients aware of the 2 tall apartment buildings that have been approved that are going in Caitlin in phase 3 that will very change the, the sight line from that little cul-de-sac part of the development? This isn't the ones we just got pitched on. These are the previous ones. So,
Yes, your worship, the zoning's been in place for those 2 apartments for those 12-story buildings for quite some time. So yes, they're aware of it.
Seeing no more hands up, I will read the motion. That staff report CSR 2025 062 request for draft plan extension, Midland Bay Estates subdivision, dated June 11th, 2025 be received, and that council grants an extension of draft plan of subdivision pursuant to section 5133 of the Planning Act for the Midland Bay Estates draft plan of subdivision file number MD-T-0001 being 251-311 and 353 Fuller Avenue for a period of 2 years to June 28th, 2027. All in favor? That's carried.
they owe you a bottle of wine, by the way. Make sure you let them know that. Because you saved it.
Moving on to 12.3 CSR 2025-064 Memorandum of Understanding with the Downtown Midland Business Improvement Area, area. Can I have a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor? Counselor Major, Counselor Meredith. The staff report CSR 2025-064 Memorandum of Understanding with the Downtown Midland Business Improvement Area dated June 11th, 2025 be received, and that the town and the downtown Midland Business Improvement Area enter into a memorandum of understanding as outlined in attachment 1 of staff report CSR 2025-064, and that bylaw 2025-35 be adopted as outlined in attachment number 3 of staff report CSR 2025-064. We have any questions or comments on this one? Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. My questions are pretty straightforward. There was a reference to a storage container in the report. I just wondered where it is and what's stored in it. And then it might be there, and I did a lot of reading, as everyone else did for this meeting. Who sweeps and cleans the streets regularly? Is that in the memorandum of it? Like, is that the town's responsibility, or the BIA's, or the residents of our BIA?
Through you, Madam Chair. So the first question about the shipping container or storage container, right now it's not on site. So through these discussions with the BIA, right now we store some of their items at our operations center. So there's snowflakes, some of the banners, other decorations and assets that the BIA have, and it takes up space within the ops center. So the suggestion was put out there about having a shipping container brought in that would be storing those types of items that are the BIA. So it'd be going out of the operations building so that we can store our assets, whether it's equipment or any sort of other materials inside that area. So if the BIA have their banners or their snowflakes, those are kind of the bigger items, they would store them in there. And then when it's time to install them through the memorandum of understanding, we'd have a schedule set up, and then staff would make the arrangements to have those installed. So it's ensuring that their product doesn't get damaged in an area if we're storing our own stuff in there as well. Last thing we'd want is to have material stored in that area and it bump into something that's the BIA's and now it's damaged. So it's taken that liability off of us, and it's storing their stuff in one centralized location. That answer your first question?
Doesn't answer the location of the storage unit.
So it'll be at the ops center. The location right now is still, it's in the yard. We're going to be bringing in a shipping container probably for our stuff as well. And so when we do that, we'll prepare the area, have it flattened, and then we've told the BI to bring it in at that time. We told them they can bring it in now because I think they have it ready to go, but we have an area dedicated at the ops yard for it.
Which yard?
At the operations center.
Okay, it's still going to be at the operations center, but they're
Correct.
going to have their,
Yes.
I was envisioning it, you're putting it on the corner of Elizabeth and First Street.
No, it'll be at the operations center. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That clarifies that.
And then in terms of your second question, right now the BI has their workers from Waypoint that are cleaning the streets. So they are BIA employees. The municipalities has supported the program, but they are employees of BIA. They are doing cleanups. I don't know how long they've been starting doing that. Perhaps Councilor Meredith can provide more information on that. But they are the ones that are providing the service to clear the streets. They have certain dedicated hours. So once that program, lapses, or they only work certain times of the day, town staff or, sorry, the BIA have said that they will be having their students kind of fill that void, because I believe the waypoint workers are working until 12. And then their students will go out and do kind of a lap around the downtown streets and pick up any garbage that's left over there. So, and then the town staff will come every morning to empty the garbage cans like they usually do in the downtown core. And regular street sweeping, yeah. So there is some work that will be done by the municipal staff, but Waypoint and the BIA for now are doing the majority of the work. That's fair to say.
Thank you. That answers that question.
Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. Yeah, the MOU, I can, as far as the Waypoint staff, there's 4 staff that come in, 2 shifts. One shift, two come in the morning from 8 to 10, and then the other 2 follow in from 10 to 12 for the regular weekly Monday to Friday street cleaning. And then also, as Mr. Farquharson stated, that students are there to pick up the slack, as well as and then the town staff as well does their part. So the MOU is something new to the BIA, and it's a frame. It's basically the Bible on who to call for what service, and it gives you it's very clear and concise, which is needed, especially with when you have changing of possibly management of the BIA board members, they could relate to this. So it's not something new every time there's a change. So it's a 2-year contract right now, which is great, because then we can work on strengthening it and kind of tweaking it here and there. So glad to see this is in and will be in if we pass it here today in force, and give clear direction to the to town staff and the BIA. So.
Councillor Major.
So just to let everyone know, I walked downtown 6 o'clock in the morning, and town of Midland waste management specialists are on the job. So they do an awesome job down there, and all the pails are empty.
Mayor Gordon.
So it's funny. I mean, I jokingly say that I head up the complaints department because, generally when people aren't happy with something that's in the community, they either talk to me on Facebook or text me or call me or hit me up, come out to my house, email me, drop into the office, all these things. This week, for some reason, I've had, I'm going to say 5 different encounters with people who went out of their way, including 2 today at the barbecue at Ascanonia, to tell me that the downtown feels different, that it feels cleaner, it feels safer. I mean, it's early still, right? But some of the problems we've been plagued with in past summers, I'm going to touch the wood here, I don't want to jinx myself, but they haven't happened yet downtown, and we're in middle of June. And it's cleaner, it looks more loved and cared for. The flower baskets are out, they're being watered, the garbage is being cleaned up. The new Hero Center initiative with Waypoint, working with the BIA, helping out the town staff by cleaning and picking up. People are noticing that. And for them to come out of their way and tell me that, tells me that that's incredible. I mean, they're also noticing how clean the parks are. Today when I was at the disc golf thing, they couldn't believe just how manicured everything was. And everyone's so happy with the state of the town. So I was going to throw it as an announcement, but since we're talking about this work with the BIA, it shows. And then actually I have some answers that I need to provide to our local media who also I believe is getting this feedback and is probing us for, what do we think is the cause of this? I'm almost hesitant to talk too much about it in fear of, next week, an influx or a deluge from CNCC. And we got 20 new homeless people from jail all over the streets and passed out on the line. Like, God, I hope that doesn't happen. But so far, things are incredible. And this memorandum of understanding with the BIA and the work that the BIA board has been doing this term, and now there's this formalized relationship between the town and Mr. Farquharson, so that it's clear who to call when for what, so that we're not working on counter purposes, we're working together. We all see much like we do with our strategic goals. There's North Star. We all agree on where we're going and how to get there for the most part. That's where we deviate a bit, but we all agree that's where we're going. And that's what it feels like with the BIA, and it's being noticed by just random people who don't have a propensity to complain. And rarely will they go out of their way to say that something's good. These people just will just live their lives. But the fact that I'm being approached recently, and maybe other counselors have too, really speaks to something is different. And I don't know what that something is. Hard to put my finger on it. But the BIA is definitely instrumental because they love and care for the downtown as much as we do, perhaps even more because their livelihood's tied to it. And whatever's happening, people are noticing and it's working. So great to see this this BIA. It's a living document. It can evolve over time. If things are, we discover, hey, it's missing, no big deal. We or future councils can add it. Same thing with the BIA. But I just got to give credit. Like there's something magical happening. I can't take credit for it. I don't even know if council can. And I don't ever like to take credit for things that I can't, demonstrably say I had something to do with. But the BIA, I think, and whatever they're doing in partnership with Waypoint and their students and with town staff, it's having a difference. And it's not just because it's a few days to Butter Tart. This has been going on for some time now. So whoever's responsible, keep it up because it's awesome and it's being noticed by just random folks that otherwise wouldn't have, found a reason to come over and say something. My perceptions, I don't know if council, if you're getting the same, but this is great to see and I'll be happy to vote for it in a moment.
Councillor Patel.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. So this is the result of collaboration within BIA, town staff, council, town staff again. So positivity always brings good result. And like you were saying, the mayor during, it feels like an announcement. It kind of is because when I went to the speaker opening ceremony, and I got there early, half an hour, and I was just sitting on the picnic bench, and it felt like a different vibe than previous years. So there's a lot of great work being done by staff, and it's a result of all the great things collaboration does, and the flexible work policy that we're implementing, which brings positivity from top down all the way to the bottom. So again, great work. Thank you.
Councillor Meredith.
Yeah, and I echo all those comments for sure. And I think, the attention that staff have, we've had our little quirks with the town and getting the MOU and some miscommunication issues, and we've been able to, staff has directed the BIA what they expect of the BIA, and then so it's been awesome that staff have recognized that, not that they didn't in the past, but I want to get on an email and point out things in the downtown that need addressed, and you know what, I think to what is happening in the downtown, the staff have a huge part in this, and I can't thank them enough to get these things ironed out, especially the MOU, because that is a big piece of the puzzle. And then and the cleanliness, and we're working with the Hero Center. There is a little bit of work to be done, and we're in the training process with that. I did walk downtown today, and I was pointing out a few things to our chair of the BIA. So I'm going to kind of step in there and then see if they need some help, and see what the expectation is for the for the BIA, and my expectation, and I know our ED is swamped with a number of things with grants and so forth. So I'm going to see if they need an extra hand in there, that I can come in the morning and kind of give some direction to the employees of the Hero Center. So I'm happy to do that for not only our town, but our downtown merchants who play a pivotal role in keeping it clean, their storefronts clean as well. So, but good job all around, from the staff to the BIA to getting this MOU done, to our CAO, for being the middle point of trying to get everything ironed out. So great job. Thank you.
Counselor Major.
So I just wanted to say, it's good the way they've got their hours of operation because the lawnmowers are on the move at 6 in the morning. They're down, they do the park, they do whatever they gotta do. And weekends, the garbage is all picked up in the park and around town. But it just makes it so good that they're out at 6 doing their job, and then when people want to use the park, they're not dodging lawnmowers or weed whackers or anything else. So, and Mary's crew is downtown every morning at 6 watering the plants, the garden, all the gardens that she looks after around town. Like, I don't know what the town of Midland would do without her because her staff are unbelievable. Like, they're all garden specialists, and it's just amazing. And it's 6 in the morning. They're down there working. So just a shout out to the staff and the way they get things done first thing in the day.
Okay, council, you've heard the motion. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, moving to 12.4, CSR 2025 068, fees and charges bylaw update. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Counselor Major, Counselor McDonald. The staff report CSR 2025 68 fees and charges bylaw update dated June 11th, 2025 be received, and that council approve the daily transient fee with 50 amp service, and that council approve weekly transient fees, and that council approve monthly transient fees, and that council approve prorated slip fees for seasonal boaters beginning in August until the end of the season, and that council approve the Midland Harbor becoming a partner in the Dock Links program, and that council approve a 50% discount on the third night of a prepaid 3-night booking for transient boaters, and that council approve the sale of advertising at outdoor recreation amenities at the rate of 13 cents per square inch or $302 per year for standard size of 96 by 48 inches, and that staff be directed to update the fees and charges bylaw with the above changes. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. I'm sure there's a reason why there's no increase in the docking fees.
Through Deputy Mayor Prost to Councillor McDonald. So this is an update to our 2025 bylaw. And so we would have increased the fees when we did that update back in February, I believe. The bylaw today is requesting the changes as outlined in the motion. And so there's specific changes related to the request of staff. But yes, the increases were already done back in February to the rates for 25.
Basically, it's just verifying what we passed in budget. Is that what you're saying?
No, the changes that are in the report they're new. So this would be changes from what was passed back in February during budget. Perhaps the manager of culture and community wanted to outline what those changes are, might help.
Please.
Through the chair to, can you hear me? Okay, thanks. Through the chair to Councillor McDonald, the changes that we're outlining for the harbor are highlighted in yellow on the sheet that's part of the report. So it's the prorated fees for first-time seasonal boaters. Then also the daily transient slips with 50 amp service, as we're going to be having 50 amp service installed. Also to have a discount on a third night prepaid booking for the harbor, also a weekly transient rate and a monthly transient rate. As part of budget this year, when we went through the fees, we held the seasonal slip rates and the daily transient fees at the 2024 rate for 2025. So those haven't changed, but everything else that we're proposing as new rates are highlighted in the yellow at the bottom of the report.
Okay, if I may, Madam Chair, I'm looking at that page. And the 2024 and 2025, the yellow ones have nothing in the 2024. So these are all new rates. Thank you.
Counselor Major.
I think it'll be an asset for the town of the joint dock links, because people that in the winter are planning whatever they're doing in boats, because I'm not a boater, and Midland's on the list, then maybe we'll attract more people to Midland during the boating season.
Counselor Patel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I read this report, and I guess we're recommending the weekly, monthly, and prepaid third night. I don't agree with any of those. I saw the report that there's boaters requesting it. It does not mean we should be giving it. I'm in the accommodation business, and we get these type of asks all the time. And during our peak season, we don't give any of these discounts. And this is a similar situation where it's going to be peak season, July, August, and giving discounts for transient boaters. They're not interested in staying in one marina. That's why they're transient. So giving discounts to people who choose not to be in one marina, we're just cheapening our product. I believe in the Apple way, which is this is the price, you stick to it. And if they don't want to come to Midland, that's fine. But us cheapening because they want to be transient, I don't really agree with. Because it's also confuses the formula of what we charge. You're giving discounts to this people, you're not giving discounts to this person because they're one night. It just complicates in a busy time of the year the entire formula. So I don't think we should be gearing towards a weekly, monthly, or prepaid third night. I do recommend, if there is an appetite for amendment, that the shoulder seasons, which is May, June, and September, October, we can apply these type of discounts as we do in our industry, but not heavily, just minor. But July, August, we should not be applying any discounts. So I like to let council know how I feel from our business perspective in the private sector. July, August is our peak season. Thank you.
Counselor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I would agree with Councillor Patel on the peak season of July and August to not have that 50% discount. We've added security. Our service level is, I've heard good things about our service level down there. We're constantly upgrading the bathrooms. We're doing a lot of work. So I like the prorated fees, of course, for new boaters across the board. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with any of this, but I do have a problem with the 50% discount in peak season. So if we could have another line item there to negate the 50% discount for those 2 months, that would be my recommendation, and I would agree with Councillor Patel. I do also want to make a comment about the 50 amp service. I see in the report that 50 amp service not sure, I guess since the report, it says it's 120 days away from installation. So when this is approved at budget time for the 50 amp service, and now we're going to wait another 120 days, are we missing out on opportunities for, you know, because what was stated at budget time, we need this to service, people are asking for it, right? So at budget was done at the end of January, and here we are, you know, we have to wait 120 days. So I would just like to point out that last year, you know, we waited for cameras, you know, security cameras. I think it was the end of August and basically almost the end of the season before those cameras were put in. So how can we do a better job at, especially when it's a seasonal, especially our harbor, where the asks come in from council at budget time? So how can we do a better job at getting those requests or those asks from staff to council? How can we get them, you know, in progress a lot sooner? So at the start of the boating season, we're prepared.
Through the chair to Councillor Meredith, we're already halfway through that 120 days, so we're hoping towards August now. So from the time that we go through the procurement process, do the RFQs, select the vendor that we're going to be purchasing from, the pedestals are already on order. They should be arriving next week, but we do need to wait on the parts for the electrical switch panel. That's the 120 days that we're waiting on. So we're probably going to be receiving those early August, mid-August. Don't know if they'll be in place for tall ships, hopefully, but maybe not. So it might be more towards the fall. But it is supply chain issues for us.
Thank you. And thank you for that explanation. I just have a problem with you know, supply chain issues. You know, they just seem like excuses to me, like sitting up here, and then they may not be, but if there's one vendor, or maybe it's our procurement has to put it, you know, keep it on, you know, if someone's not taken up on the procurement side of it, there's only one vendor that maybe we extend the procurement. Maybe people haven't seen it. I don't know how it works, but I just seem from January, the end of January, you know, come February, those parts should be probably ordered, or how that works. And there's a procurement policy. Maybe it's 30 days. As I said, I'm not sure. I just think it needs to be quicker. And because we're missing out on that, you know, now we're in late August, season's almost over. So that's kind of my point. I just think we need to do a better job at nailing someone down to get these, you know, whatever devices we need to get it going at the start of the season. Thank you.
Madam CAO?
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Meredith, I believe that the process that we're doing this year with budget coming sooner in the year will tremendously help us get things out to market before sort of the February, March timeframe of the year. So doing budget in December will allow us to be prepared at the beginning of the year and not be competing with others that have already got their processes out or their RFPs out. So that should be one of the ways it helps us, and to be better prepared with that.
Councillor Ball?
Thank you. Yeah, I actually, that's a really good point, and I'm in agreement with that. But I'm wondering, are we prioritizing which projects? Because some of the projects we did approve at budget have come into fruition, they're being done. So I would think that the seasonal projects are the ones that we should be prioritizing. So there obviously there's a process where it does get quicker results because there is quicker results happening. I know like the rec center has a roof right now, and you know, so cameras and 50 amp service seems like it would be less hard to install than a roof. So I don't know if you can maybe, I guess, elaborate on if we have some sort of process that way that we're prioritizing projects based off of seasonal and what would be coming first.
Through Deputy Mayor Prost to Councillor Ball. That's a good point. And so we do look at the projects. And so the list, as you would have saw in one of the reports tonight, there's over 200 and some odd projects, I believe. But our capital, our infrastructure projects are always prioritized first, right? So the projects that are really important to get to market are those construction projects that we are in a lot of competition for typically and trying to get the sharpest price possible. The $10 million Yonge Street project. For example, we had the RFP for the rec center. That was a different process this year. So there were certainly things that I would say slowed us down in the last couple months. But certainly we do have a list of priorities and do knock those off in accordance of that list. I would also say that you're right, that the seasonality factor is something that we should consider. So we'll certainly take that back and try to do better next year. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that there's a long list, so I know, but it seems like we're missing out on a full season of income. So that's great that you're going to take that back for next year. Appreciate it.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. Just following through with Councillor Patel and Councillor Meredith's suggestion that the 50% discount only be offered on the shoulder season months, not in July and August. And that would be number 6 in the recommendations. So can I move that we amend to reflect that request? That council approved the 50% discount on the 3rd night of a prepaid 3-night booking for transient boaters in May, June, September, October. Would that work?
Councillor Patel, I think you have something to add.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So also for the weekly and monthly, it should be only on shoulder seasons as well, not just line 6 or number 6, that 50% discount on prepaid night on transient boaters for the 3rd night. Just my main concern is it takes more staff time to accommodate transient boaters. So why discount? I mean, we should be charging them more, not discounting. That's my main reason for not agreeing with it. Thank you. Thank you.
Councillor Ball.
Yeah, I just want to agree with that. I think that there shouldn't be a discount in July and August at all. So I'm in support of, yeah. I hear echoes that that's an approval.
Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. If council can you can agree to a friendly amendment by removing item number 6, which is the 50% discount. We can remove it in its entirety. If you could just have a show of hands for. Okay, it will be removed, so you can strike it out on the motion and the minutes will reflect that it's out.
What about number 2 and 3?
Madam Chair, I believe Ms. Milling would like to address council.
So just to note that if we remove the 50% discount, we no longer have something to offer to be a partner of Dock Links. So if we remove the 50% discount, we wouldn't be we would have to remove the other part of the motion as well to remove the Dock Links portion, unless council wanted to see the 50% discount offered only in the shoulder seasons of shoulder months of May, June, September, and October.
I think Councillor Patel can clarify.
So I was just looking at some background on Dock Links. So it's just a discount website for voters to become a member. It's like a Costco, but there's no real benefit to the business owners because they're forcing business owners to give discount on their restaurants. Like, we're in a struggling industry as a restaurant, and they're saying, "Oh, you want to be part of this program? Well, give us a discount." When they're charging $50 to their members, so where's the discount to their members? And they're just forcing the businesses to give discounts. So the whole thing doesn't make sense what Doc Link is running. I think it's more like a pyramid scheme than anything else. That's just my 2 cents, nothing personal. Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. Just for clarification, I didn't realize that number 5 was tied in with number 6 in the recommendation. So if council chooses to not have the discounted rates, then yes, we would remove number 5 and number 6 from the recommendation.
Is it possible to have just the discount on the third night in the off season, like May, June? Like amend the motion to say that that can happen only in May, June, September, October?
Through you, Madam Chair. Yes, if that's the wish of council, but you would have to have a show of hands because there are 2 suggestions on the floor at the moment to remove both or to amend number 6 to have the discount in the for the shoulder seasons.
Counselor Ball.
All right, that would also be for 2 and 3. The weekly and monthly rates would be only offered in shoulder seasons as well as number 6, 50%. So we can still be a part of Doc Links because we still offer the discount, but we will not offer any discounts in July and August, weekly, monthly, third night. So 2, 3, and 6. Only in shoulder seasons. Does that cover everything? I hope so.
Yes, sorry, through the chair to Councilor Bolt. Yes, I think you've covered it. And just to note that there's no fee to the municipality to be a member of Doc Links. If the membership fee is on those who want it, the boaters. So if we want to have a discount and process our discount on Doc Links as free advertising, we could do that.
Mayor Gordon.
So in perusing the Doc Links program, this loyalty program, it's a paid one. But we used to get this for years with my old marina, which is now Maple Leaf Marinas. And they gave all your members, these cards, and they negotiated these deals. And you got discounts off gas and stuff. So when you peruse these discounts on here, you'll see like Perry Sound is only giving 10% discount, not 50. So the municipalities can choose what discount, if any, they give. And if you have to give a discount to qualify to be on Doc Links, which isn't a bad platform to be on if they have a lot of members, we don't have to offer 50%. We could give some kind of percent, like a 10% off, and that wouldn't be out of the norm when you sort of do an environmental scan of what other municipalities are offering. So rather than getting too crazy about exclusions on this month and what having blackout dates and stuff, we could just call it a 10% discount. That's still an incentive, and or 15, whatever number we want to do. But then we can still participate in the Doc Link program, which may give us some more transient booking, which is nice. And the fact that it's prepaid means even if it ends up being a yucky weekend and people don't even come because the weather's the rollers are out in Georgian Bay and they're not leaving Perry Sound, Big Sound Marina, we got our money anyway because it's prepaid. So anytime you have a prepaid service, that's always better than one where if the people show up or don't show up and you're stuck, right? So I think this is a good idea. We could tinker with 50% seems like maybe a little steep. Maybe we start with year one of like 10 or 15% discount and see what the take up is, and make sure that I'm sure this platform must deliver some kind of metric. They can tell us how many people book through it and what the whether the discount actually made a difference to our transient slips. And of course, so we have the advantage of having that prepayment, regardless of whether the people show up or stay for the third night because of weather or whatever. So, because that does change things when you're planning to be on the move around Georgian Bay. Plenty of times we had lots of plans and booked slips, and we either didn't make the docks or the locks at the right time, mechanical issues, people we were traveling with broke down, lots of reasons why we didn't end up. where we wanted to be on time. So again, prepaid is just money in the bank and we get the exposure. We can reduce our sort of financial risk by lowering the discount and see if that incentive may be enough. So it's just an option to consider while we're beating this up.
Counselor Major, then Counselor Patel, then Counselor Ball.
So the advertising at the different parks or at the dock or that, like, have we got a advertising specialist at the town that's gonna do that? Because I spend enough time at the rec center. And if you're from out of town and you go down the dock or your kids are playing baseball or whatever, it is kind of neat to see advertising. So you like, oh, Midland's got this or Midland's got that or whatever. But like in the parks, are we doing it at the dock, and who's going to be in charge of it?
Through the chair to Councillor Major. We put the outdoor recreation facilities in because we have interest from the town. Should we have harbor interest, again, we run all of those advertising contracts at the rec center and in the outdoor amenities through Perfect Mind, which the harbor also uses. So we could look at that in the future. Right now, we're focused on outdoor recreation because we have interest.
Like that's basically the pickleball parks or to get right down to brass tacks. So,
That was the first request, yes.
but then the town's looking after selling the advertisement, or
Yeah.
a third party? The town is? Yeah, so the more ads at pickleball, there'll be. I just, when I'm out of town and I'm at a event or sports or whatever, it's kind of neat to look and see, oh, that town's got this, that, or whatever. Cause maybe you would miss it on your own rolling through. So that's perfect. Like, we'll do the pickleball first and then worry about the boulders later.
Counselor Patel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just like to ask a question. So this prepayment, is that done through dock links or are we handling that transaction?
Through the chair to Councillor Patel, we'll take care of that transaction once they show their membership to us.
Follow up.
Yeah, with the follow-up, so then it doesn't make sense to be on this program, because if DocLink was handling the transaction, then that would make sense. But if we have to handle this and still provide a discount, then I don't believe we should be applying it during the peak season. Thank you.
Counselor Ball, then Counselor Meredith.
Thanks. I think the point of being on it is just being able to have that advertisement and when people are going on there to look. But I mean, it's not really, it doesn't matter to us. We're just giving a discount. My clarification, I guess, was to Mayor Gordon. Are you talking about the 10 or 15% discount on the third night? Or are you talking about like an overall 10 to 15% discount? Because I think having that discount on the third night, okay, perfect. Because I was like, I think the third night we might not get anyone taking advantage of that. So they're there for the weekend. They might not want to stay a third night. So I'm down for lowering the discount to 10% on the third night. But I don't know if anyone's going to really be enticed to come here for that. But I'm fine with lowering the discount as long as it stays on the third night.
Counselor Meredith.
Thank you. I don't mind the dock links and the 50% off discount on the, other than July and August. I think this is the staff and the manager of I imagine the harbor have looked at this, and this is the recommendation. So I'm fine with that. I would like to see, the results of, after the season to see, if this program had some traction. The one other question I had is if you stay, so basically if you stay for four nights or 5 nights instead of the full week, so out of the 5, one of those nights would be 50% off. It wouldn't be after the like after the 4th night. Is it 50% off and the fifth night's 50% off, or how would that work?
Through the chair to Councillor Meredith, I think at that point, when they're staying 5 nights, they're going to be looking at the weekly rate because it's basically the paying for 4 nights and getting 3 nights free. If you look at the weekly rate that we devised it, it's based on paying the daily transient for 4 nights as an incentive as again to.
Right, so if you do the math, they may, yeah, okay, thank you.
Madam Clerk, do we have a draft we could maybe listen to? Holy. Okay, so we'll try this again, council. And we'll see if this is something that we can do. That council approve the daily transient fee with 50 amp service, and that council approve weekly transient fees for May, June, September, and October. And that council approve monthly transient fees for May, June, September, and October. And that council approve prorated slip fees for seasonal boaters beginning in August until the end of the season. And that council approve the Midland Harbor becoming a partner in the Dock Links program. And that council approve a 50% discount on the 3rd night of a prepaid 3-night booking for transient boaters in May, June, September, and October. And that council approve the sale of advertising at outdoor recreation amenities at a rate of 13 cents per square inch or $302 per year for standard size of 96 by 48 inches, and that staff be directed to update the fees and charges bylaw with the above changes. Does that sound like what we've been talking about and what we're looking for? Councillor McDonald.
I'm not clear why we're adding the shoulder fees on numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's out. So it sounds to me that July and August is free. There's no fees for July and August. Is there a discount offered in 1, 2, 3, and 4? Right?
I believe July and August, there's no discount at all. Is that correct? That's what we're looking at? No discount at all
So
for
it'll-
July and August.
I'm being difficult to, I don't understand why we have to mention the months in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because there's no discount. There's no discount being offered on the daily transient fee. Its own. Do you know what I'm saying? So
I do.
we only need it on number 6. 2 and 3 says the council approve weekly transient fees. They are discounted. Where does it say they're discounted?
I think Councillor Patel can speak to this.
Well, yeah, I just would like to understand it. Where it is.
So just to kind of give you clarification, Councillor McDonald, I know the word discount is not in there, but when you mention the word weekly and monthly, it tends to say that there will be a discount applied. So if we want to add those words in just to have that clarification, we can, but usually what weekly and monthly means is they have their own set of fees, which are different from a daily rate, which is, let's say if it's $100 a day, then weekly would be maybe a 25% discount. I don't know. We have not discussed what the discounts are. I guess that's up to staff, but usually what it means, it's not the daily transient fee. Thank you.
Obviously, I'm not a boater.
Mayor Gordon.
I know we're not supposed to use our phones while we're at council meeting here, but I'm trying to just do some quick research on this because I hadn't considered we were going to have this conversation. So, I looked down, nobody's offering 50%. The highest is here is 35%. So I'm just wondering, where did we find this 50%? And a lot of them, and they're not saying it's for the third night, it's just for the slip fee. So if you're a member of this Dock Link, so you get this free promotion on Dock Link, why wouldn't we just say, you know, if you're a Dock Link member, it's 10% off of these transient slips? Just any day, never mind all this blackouts and trying to make it complicated. You get a 10% discount, which is kind of the average when I scan here for all the different marinas and different municipalities. Anytime you book for a transient slip through Dock Links, just 10% off. So that was kind of the norm when we used to have the Park Bridge card. There was never any staggering savings. It was always a few points off something. It was an incentive to get you to that restaurant because it saved a few points. 50% is, that's a big reduction. And I don't know why you'd want to lead the pack with that. It's like a race to the bottom. Everybody else is, hovering between the 10 and 35 max. So just to try and simplify things, regardless of whether they come from DocLink, if we offered a 10% discount, that would be the incentive to come and stay with us and shop and explore Midland. And it's a little bit of a discount, and we could just make it across the board and simplify things. So it's not really complicated for staff to try and figure out. Like just a simple discount, right? This is a new program for us. We'll have our new high power pedestal. A 50 amp boat is a big boat. If you're sucking 50 amps, you're like a 45-foot plus cruiser with a couple of air conditioners. And we're not going to have it, unfortunately, because I guess the pedestals were on back order or whatever this year, but we're setting a precedent now because we're putting new rates in that didn't exist before. So I'm not really keen with the 50%. I think it's too steep. I don't know who, like no one else has it that I can find on the platform. And maybe, Karen, can you speak to how we were at 50%? Was that an ask from the consumers, of course, or was that something we dreamed up, and what's the rationale for 50%?
Through the chair to Mayor Gordon, when we were doing some research on who was offering what kind of discounts, other municipally run marinas, we heard that Aurelia was offering the third night completely free. So when we were thinking, how do we compete with Aurelia? Maybe offering the 50% as the option. Of course, whatever percentage council's considering, we'll certainly put out there. And if we have the Docklinks program, it may be available to the Docklinks members, but also for offering 3 nights and we're processing it ourselves, it could be offered to any voters. They don't necessarily have to be a member of Docklinks as well.
Okay, so that makes more sense to me. And the fact that we're processing the payment, and again, it's only for prepaid. So we've got the money in the bank. Whether or not they show up, it doesn't matter because they've called in with their credit card from like Perry Sound or wherever they are, and they're anticipating coming and staying with us 3 nights. If they come for 1 night, don't matter, we got the money. If they come or they don't show up at all because circumstances like that happen, we still have the money and we've got the discounted rate for the third night. So for the July and August especially, there's 2 long weekends in there. So it's not a stretch of the imagination that people would want 3 nights, even if they didn't have their home base here in Midland. So I think I'd be fine with this because it's prepaid, 50%. I can live with that. Let's see what happens. Let's see what the uptake is. Let's not overcomplicate it with a blackout period this year. Let's just see who comes and takes us up on it. We're not talking about a staggering loss. And again, it's prepaid money in the bank, regardless of whether they show up. So I think I can sleep tonight accepting this. I know you just made the edit, Madam Clerk, but I don't know what the appetite is around the table. I don't care if we're going to carve out the 2 dates. That's not a hill I'm dying on tonight, but I think I'm feeling better as I talk myself through this, that it's prepaid, 50% off year 1. Let's just see what the uptake is. And, maybe it'll be really good for our attracting, more transient boaters to our marina, which is the objective, right? So, okay, fair enough. I'm good with whatever you guys want. Council, I'm not going to suggest we got the July and August out of there right now. I'm fine with the question being called on that, but I just wanted to let you know that we can simplify this by just removing that. But
Okay, I'm going to go around because I see hands one more time, and we can try to come to a consensus and do a final motion. So Councillor Patel.
So I see the metrics behind the third night 50% because you want to force people to stay multiple nights, so it's less work. My only concern is if we're doing this prepaid, what is going to be our chargeback from credit card companies? Let's say, because we get that in our industry, person books, and then they want to cancel, and what happens down the road is they change their plan. we charge them, then they call the credit card company. They say, I never booked there. 99% of the cases we have lost. What is our success ratio in our township? Because we're going in this program, have we reached this kind of point in the past where we had chargeback issues? Because we shouldn't be going into this if that's the case, because we have changed our business plan where we don't even take direct bookings. We take e-transfers, or we force customers to book through third parties where our money is guaranteed. So I just would like to know if we do get chargebacks. Thank you.
Through Deputy Mayor Prost to Councillor Patel. I've certainly seen a couple chargebacks in my time here. Nothing harbor related that comes to mind. I know I've seen one for a fire permit where someone didn't necessarily know that they purchased a fire permit online. So it does happen. We have to respond to them immediately, as you know, because you get so many hours or days to respond. Success rate, I would say, I would agree, it's probably minimal. Yes.
So my follow-up is, if we're going in this prepaid and we start getting chargebacks, I recommend doing bank transfers only and not doing credit cards if there is a high number of chargebacks happening on prepaid boat, transient boat charges. I know it's not related to this topic, but if we are going in this prepaid option, I don't know how it was before. Thank you.
I would say if we do start getting chargebacks, we would come back, we would opt to cancel the program because currently we don't accept e-transfers in that. We have far too many bank transactions happening in a day to monitor incoming transient slips. So and yeah, until another sort of solution is available, but yeah, certainly something we'll monitor, and if it does become an issue, I would opt to cancel the program.
Councillor Meredith, and then Councillor Ball.
Thank you. I just want to make a comment. I just, with all the input we've had on this subject, I'm hoping we can graduate sometime, to have this type of input on the 20, the financials, especially the reports that we just had in front of us, the 2022 financials and the 2023 year-end report, which we never had really much of a discussion on because it just went through, which I think is more important than this subject. But with the amount of time we spent on this, but I'm glad we did to make sure everybody's on the same page here. So, but hopefully one day we can get these have this kind of input with our town financials. Thank you.
Okay, so the last motion I read, Council, you've heard the motion. All in favor? That's carried. Oh. Because that was an amended motion, Councillor Major and Councillor McDonald, are you okay to put it on the floor? Number 13, does anyone have any notices of motion? Seeing none. Number 14, general announcements. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. I just want to repeat that I mentioned earlier about the service provider meeting today. Councillor Ball and I attended. A lot of sharing of information, very positive outlook. They want to continue meeting. A lot of talk about possibly hosting the forum in the fall, even if we did all the work. There was a lot of volunteers there to do that. So I'm just giving you a heads up on that one. And the other thing I'd like to mention is I had several inquiries over the past few weeks. And I want to thank the staff publicly for providing me with prompt service, direction, and information. So I really appreciate that. Makes me look good. Thanks. That's what you're here for.
Counselor Major.
I just want to remind everyone it's Butter Tart Festival weekend, and your Butter Tart setup specialist, Counselor Major, will be joining the work activities at 5:30 on Saturday morning. So anyone wants to come down and spend some quality time with me in between my assignments, feel free to come down.
Mayor Gordon.
Thank you very much. Always good for a few. So yeah, to echo Councillor Major, it is our Ontario Best Butter Tart Festival sponsored by Chapman's this weekend. I look forward to participating in the Best of Show judging, which happens around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's no way you can judge all three of these things. You just would slip into a sugar coma. You know, I'd be an instant diabetic. And I'm already, after I tell you, once you get through one of these judging things, you don't even want to smell a butter tart again for at least a few weeks. But I've been fasting on butter tarts all year since last June, or from butter tarts all year. So I am looking forward, and I'm rested and ready to do my part. So that's 9 to 5 downtown Midland, and in David on Lee and Harborside Parks. For those that were concerned about, the road closures because of Yonge Street, and, concerned about emergency services, how are they going to get to the east side of town? Because, things are shut down downtown. Just a quick reminder that I reached out to the fire chief to confirm. Of course, they have a plan, and that big red fire truck that you see at the top of King Street by the barriers, on the outside of the barriers, that's available for kids to look inside and toot the horn and everything. That's a working fire truck, staffed with staff ready to respond to any calls for service. And they're already outside of the barriers, but they're there at Yonge and King. So that's how they get quickly to the east side if there are any problems because of the closure. So worry not. And of course, Yonge Street, even though it's ripped up, remains accessible to all the businesses and the courthouse and everything, because there's one travel lane open. It just is, people are discouraged from using it unless you really need to. So if you're shopping, please shop there. And if you live there, well, of course, go home. But for the regular folks trying to get around town, don't drive through there unless you want to get your car really muddy. So we are working diligently to get that job done, but that's not going to interfere with Butter Tart Festival. So we are hoping to host another record crowd. The weather looks like it's going to be a lovely day, cloudy, not super stinking hot, and no real rain in the forecast yet. So it should be a perfect day for Butter Tart. July 1st, of course, will be our next big one, Canada Day celebrations in Little Lake Park. The fireworks, because we alternate with Penetang-Washeen and Midland, are in Penetang-Washeen this year. So enjoy Little Lake Park for Canada Day festivities and, of course, our parade, and then head over to Penetang in the evening and enjoy the fireworks. July 6th, Music in the Park begins at our new stage in Little Lake Park. Music in the Park takes place weekly on Sundays starting at 6 p.m. until August 24th. So a full 8 weeks, and we've got a great lineup of performers. We've got our new seating, the new lighting's in place, and we have our new covered stage. August 15th, 16th, and 17th, the Tall Ships are welcome back to Midland. Tickets are available for the Saturday and Sunday daytime deck passes and to tour the ships, meet the crew, and learn more about each vessel. And tickets are also on sale for Saturday and Sunday evening sailouts aboard the Empire Sandy. That's a real special opportunity for folks. The weekend also includes vendors, entertainment, a midway for kids and big kids, and Northern Heat Rib Series will be in the Harborside Park. So lots of stuff going on this July and August. Not to be outdone, though, we cap off the summer season on September 12th with the Mayor's Charity Golf Tournament. That's our second instance of it. It's councils, but it's given the title Mayor. It's at the Brookley Golf and Country Club. $200 per player, includes 18 holes of golf with a cart, a barbecue lunch, a really, really nice dinner, and a $50 tax receipt. Player registration is open now. You can find the links on the town website or my website. There's still some sponsorship opportunities available. We're looking for donations for the silent auction as well. And all the proceeds, as I mentioned earlier tonight, feed into our community grants program. And through the generosity of our community, we can bestow these funds on the many worthy nonprofits in our community that rely on grant funding year after year. So those are my announcements. Lots going on this summer, notwithstanding the construction, but it all has to be done. But we're somehow making do, and it's not damping our spirits or our resolve to pull off another amazing Butter Tart Festival.
Councillor Bald and Councillor Patel.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that the library is having the summer kickoff reading program on June 26th in Little Lake Park. It's also their first movie event of the season that Councillor McDonald was mentioning previously. So if you have kids, come on out to that. I'm sure that they would encourage reading, but it's also just fun if you have a person that hates reading too. You don't have to have a kid. You can come with me.
Councillor Patel.
Thank you, Madam Chairs. Great announcements, great team here, team council. But June, where I guess staff has organized the bike challenge, and I see lots of kilometers going on. Mr. Sobel logged his first one, 10 clicks. I'm waiting for Mr. Farquharson. He's at 0. Karen Mealing, she's got a bike ride every day. Councillor McDonald, I have to say, like, it's amazing. I'm having a hard time keeping up with you. So, thank you for Councillor Meredith for doing a marathon, going to Windy City, Port Severn. It was a great challenge, and I hope to go out with the mayor soon, because we usually do a couple of rides. Keep up the great work, staff, and hope our CEO logs her kilometer. Thank you.
Councillor Meredith.
Thank you. I just have the one announcement. I'm not sure if the mayor hit this one, but the pickleball tournament this weekend for the third annual pickleball tournament Saturday, Sunday in support of the Georgian Bay Cancer Support Center. So all you pickleballers out there, if you're not registered, if they have room, I'm not sure. They usually fill up pretty quick, but if you want to go see some action, they'll be up there Saturday and Sunday. Full contact, yeah.
On to number 15. I have a motion to close the committee of the whole and resume formal council meeting. It's moved by Councillor Bald, seconded by Councillor Major, that the committee of the whole rise and report. All in favor? That's carried.
All right, everybody, you got a motion here moved by Councillor Meredith, seconded by Councillor Patel. The recommendations of Committee of the Whole for the meeting of June 11th, 2025 be adopted as resolutions of council. All those in favor? That's carried. Next, moved by Councillor Major, second by Councillor McDonald. The following bylaws, bylaw 2025-35, establish and designate an improvement area within the town of Midland, and to repeal bylaw 77-74. Bylaw 2025-36, operate the administrative monetary penalty system, AMPS, in the town of Midland. Bylaw 2025-37, amend bylaw 2025-13, being a bylaw to establish and approve the composite fees and charges to the town of Midland as amended. And bylaw 2025-38, amend bylaw 2020-66, being a bylaw appointing municipal auditors for the town of Midland, be passed and enacted. Any questions on this one, Councilman? All right, all those in favor? Unanimous. And next, moved by Deputy Mayor Pro, seconded by Councillor Patel, that the bylaw 2025-39, being a bylaw to adopt the proceedings of the regular meeting of council held June 11, 2025, be passed and enacted. All those in favor? Unanimous. And last but not least, moved by Deputy Mayor Pro, seconded by Councillor Meredith, this regular meeting of council adjourn at 8:57 p.m. All those in favor? Passed unanimous. We are adjourned. A decent time for a huge agenda. Thank you, everybody.